Chapter 80. Jang Young-ho shrugged, saying, "The Bloody Club is an organization that kills as long as they're paid. It's purely for the fun of killing and torturing. It's in conflict with my business philosophy. Seems like it's a business dispute," Gu Qingshan commented. "More or less. People of the same trade are enemies. I like to cause trouble for them," Jang Young-ho answered. "That's why you came to help me." "There's another reason. Some of the Federation's actions are actually destroying their own foundation." Jang Young-ho hesitated for a bit, then finally said, "Everyone says the Fuxi Empire is conservative, but the Fuxi Empire has a complete training system for every talented person, while our Nine Lords are always afraid of progress, afraid." Gu Qingshan repeated, "That's right, they're afraid of the change in society that comes with a breakthrough technology," Jang Young-ho explained. "They stopped the genetic modification technology because they're afraid that more and more people will become star-level fighters. They pulled out of the International Interstellar Research Project, saying that they can't fight against the space monsters. But it's actually because the expenditure is too much for them. They've never actively tried to understand the Holy Empire's mysticism, nor care about the Fuxi Empire's perfectionist weapons revolution." Jang Young-ho laughed mockingly, saying, "They're all old. You're quite an interesting person. I'm starting to feel a bit tempted," Gu Qingshan said seriously for the first time. Who would have thought that as soon as his attitude changed, Jang Young-ho also became serious? Jang Young-ho nodded, then spoke with a serious expression. "To further express my sincerity, I can tell you that the one who came to kill you is the Bloody Club's Mr. Jackal. Their ace? I'm a bit flattered," Gu Qingshan smiled and said. Also, Jang Young-ho thought for a bit. "I think they also sent someone to Capital University to deal with your friend, Su family Su Share." As soon as he said that, Jang Young-ho felt the hairs on his back standing up. The youth in front of him was still smiling harmlessly a second ago, but in the next second, his entire body was emitting a monstrous killing intent. This kind of killing intent came and went quickly. Suddenly, all the killing intent disappeared. There was no expression on the young man's face. He seemed to be frozen. Jang Young-ho, on the other hand, felt his mind go blank. He had to use all his strength to break free from this state. How could this be? To seize one's will, one had to cleanse one's killing intent and make it undetectable. This youth's killing intent was almost tangible. It was omnipresent and untraceable, making it impossible to find an opponent. This kind of killing intent made it hard for anyone to resist. Even Jang Young-ho almost fell for it. At this moment, a young man in a suit floated in the air outside the floor-to-ceiling glass, gently knocking on the glass. This was the 15th floor. No one knew how he had appeared. The glass disappeared as he knocked on it. "Ah, I'm sorry. I'm late," the young man politely apologized. He came in, looked at his watch, and said, "It seems my business rival's obstruction didn't work, Mr. Gu Qingshan. Your time is up." Gu Qingshan turned his hand. A sword appeared from the void of space in his hand. Gu Qingshan raised the earth sword and pointed it at the young man. "You're Jackal." "Yes, I'm here to take your life," the young man smirked and said. These were his last words in this world. The Freedom Holiday Hotel was the best hotel in the capital. Each of its rooms had floor-to-ceiling glass to make it easy for guests to enjoy the beautiful night view of the capital. But at this moment, in one of the rooms on the 15th floor, the floor-to-ceiling glass suddenly disappeared as a young man walked in from the air. A second later, an ear-splitting sound of impact resounded. All the floor-to-ceiling glass in the Freedom Holiday Hotel shattered and fell at the same time as the roar. A magnificent sword aura wrapped around the young man and shot out from the 15th floor. Even more powerful sword phantoms chased after him, striking the young man's body and cutting him to pieces. The sword phantoms continued to slash down from the 15th floor until the young man's body was completely cut to pieces. "Jang Young-ho, I owe you one." Saying so, Gu Qingshan jumped out of the skyscraper without looking back, heading towards the sky. Jang Young-ho didn't know how many years it's been since he was this shocked. The ace hitman of the Bloody Club was cut to pieces by this young man with a single sword strike. Watching the young man jump out, he couldn't help but remind him, "This is the 15th floor in the air." The young man took something out. Blazing Angel, he said to the item. Above the capital, on a near-Earth satellite, the hatch suddenly opened. A large and elegant mech turned into a shadow, flying towards the capital below the stars. With a loud sonic boom, the shadow had already surpassed the speed of sound in just a few seconds. The speed of this mech was incredibly fast, so much so that when it stopped in the air, opened its wings, and gently reached out its mechanical hand to catch Gu Qingshan. Even with Zhang Yongho's eyesight, he was able to see the mech in its entirety. My God, this guy really is shocking. He opened his eyes wide and muttered. In the blue sky, the mech was flying away. At this time, the chaos at the Freedom Holiday Hotel had only just begun. Zhang Yongho walked in front of the empty floor-to-ceiling glass, looking at the mess on the ground, looking at the ruined Freedom Holiday Hotel. After looking around for a while, he shook his head. Even 100 nanomechs wouldn't be able to clean up a scene like this. Not good. I'll have to tell the old man first. He put the silver-white box back into his pocket, took out his hollow brain, and contacted someone. Gu Qingshan was inside the blazing angel mech, her hands quickly operating the mech for seconds left to arrive at Capital University. Detected Su Share's life signature. Location confirmed. Flight path changed. The blazing angel mech roared as it accelerated, made a sharp turn, and landed somewhere on the empty field outside the school building. The barrier has already been dispelled. Anna and Fenghua had already left. Su family's people were all around, busy dealing with the aftermath. Su Share was standing on the empty field. When the mech arrived, she seemed to have sensed it and looked up at the sky. A slender mech, with a long tail of light on both sides, sliced through the sky like a mythical angel. Before anyone could react, the mech had already landed in front of Su Share. Only now did everyone react. Who are you? Alert! Guard! Protect the young lady. The chaotic shouts mixed with the sounds of the other mechs moving hurriedly made the entire scene even noisier. A few mechs started up, about to rush forward. It's me. A man's voice came from the mech with the wings of light on its back. Qingshan Ji. Su Share happily called out, waving and shouting at everyone. Don't worry, it's one of us. Only then did the crowd relax. They couldn't help but look at the mech. It can't be helped. It's too eye-catching and eye-catching. This mech isn't complicated at all. You could even call it simple. Because it's streamlined, it looks like a real person. A gentle female figure with closed eyes. A pair of wings of light on its back, making the mech look like a mythical angel. Those who really understand mechs have a serious expression on their faces. The mech is so human-like. If the technology behind it isn't up to par, this mech wouldn't be able to move at all. From the speed of its flight and landing, it looked like a human landing on the ground. From the looks of it, this mech's core technology is unbelievably strong. Chapter 81. A sharp-eyed bodyguard noticed the mech's right wing lightly sweeping across the ground. A deep scratch quietly appeared on the ground, and the dim red line gradually disappeared from the scratch. He silently noted it down. Gu Qingshan used her inner sight to scan Su Share's body from inside the mech, but found no wounds. Why are you here? Su Share's eyes flashed with joy. I received news that you were in danger, so I came to take a look. Gu Qingshan's tone was very calm. There were 2 assassins, Su Share replied. It was thanks to a friend who acted in time and killed them. Gu Qingshan understood. She almost died. The 2 wings of light on the blazing angel's body suddenly spread open and locked onto the entire battlefield. Comparing the traces at the scene, no abnormalities, change strategy, begin human cell collection. No escape cells found so clean. Su Share's friends are either extremely skilled at killing or they're extremely strong. It's good that you're fine. Right, which friend saved you? Gu Qingshan asked. Anna's enchanting face appeared in Su Share's mind. Although Anna said that he was only joking with Gu Qingshan before he left, Su Share still had a woman's sixth sense. I can pay him back any way I want, but I definitely can't give him away. Su Share made her decision and asked, this mech is... Sure enough, Gu Qingshan's attention was diverted and triumphantly replied, This is the birthday present I prepared for you. He opened the hatch. jumped down from the mech, and turned to the mech. Come, say hello to your master. The angel mech quickly walked up to Su Cher and knelt on one knee. Lady Su Cher, nice to meet you. I am your guardian. Blazing angel, Su Cher covered her mouth, then looked at Gu Shan after a while. She muttered, no wonder you asked me what kind of armor I like. She grew up in an aristocratic family, so she had good judgment. This mobile mech exuded an unparalleled sense of beauty. It landed nimbly from the sky and moved naturally like a human. It was very, very difficult to do this. If there were no problems with the subsequent series of operations, this would definitely be the best of the best. Gu Shan smiled and said, do you want to give it a try? Su Cher nodded excitedly, but she was still hesitant. Can I? I've never piloted a battle-type mech before. Also, I'm wearing a dress today. There's nothing inside that will hang on your clothes, said Gu Shan. Also, the mech's AI is very high, and it's not complicated to operate. You can use it without worry. If Gu Shan said it wasn't complicated, then it must be very simple. Su Cher relaxed and walked to the side of the armor. The armor reached out its hand and gently placed her into the cockpit on its chest. The airflow surged and the engine roared. The blazing angel's wings glowed brightly. With a loud boom, the mech flew up into the sky, turning into a small black dot. A faint scream could be heard from inside the mech. Seems like I forgot to turn off the loudspeaker just now. Gu Shan smiled as he watched this. If the apocalypse wasn't here, he really hoped that time would stop at this moment. A sonic boom came from the sky. A few moments later, the blazing angel appeared again. Her flying speed suddenly slowed down and began to perform tactical maneuvers. This is the moment to show off the true value of a mobile mech. The people who were pretending to be busy couldn't help but raise their heads and stare at this scene. The mech's flying state was very stable, but when it performed its maneuvers, it was also very fast, very nimble and light. Between movement and silence, it was like a human. Su Cher even used the mech to perform 3 to 5 Su clan close combat techniques in the air. The blazing angel's moves were sharp, her attacks decisive, faintly showing the demeanor of a martial grandmaster. She quickly flew forward again. After a short 4 seconds, the sonic boom came again. The onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air. With this kind of speed, this kind of human-like maneuvers in battle, the blazing angel could even use her speed to get close to the enemy and use her bare hands to kill the enemy mech, or she could directly insert her weapon into the enemy mech's power core and pull the trigger. Boom! In history, there has never been a mech that could do this. There wasn't a single mediocre person here. They were all elites of their respective fields, all of whom had a certain level of understanding of mechs. Everyone subconsciously slowed down their movements, walking and talking as softly as possible, as if afraid to disturb the performance in the sky. Everyone realized something at the same time. Today was a milestone in the history of mobile mech development, a new era. This day will definitely be recorded in the history of the Federation, and they will be the witnesses to it. After a whole 20 minutes, the blazing angel finally landed in front of Gu Shan. Su Cher's face was flushed with excitement, jumped down from the mech and shouted, "How amazing! This is the best birthday present I've ever received in my life." Gu Shan smiled and gave her an intricate ring. "What is this?" Su Cher was so shocked that she forgot to breathe. I'm going to die. Is this guy going to propose in front of everyone? Then should I agree or not? He can already make such a top-tier mech. My family probably won't reject him, right? Not to mention, my ability is already at 4th stage. I should be able to protect him. But what kind of wedding dress should I wear? Wedding dresses are trending right now, but I prefer the traditional phoenix coronet and robe. We're both still studying. How are we going to live together if we get together? No, wait, I haven't even agreed yet. At this moment, Su Cher was completely stunned. Her mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts. This ring is the Blazing Angel's controller. The instruction manual is here. Gu Shan didn't know what just happened, only took out a crumpled piece of paper and gave it to him. He looked at the paper and scratched his head. I just found a random piece of paper to write the instructions. I hope you don't mind. Su Cher opened her eyes wide and stared straight at him. She suddenly breathed out, feeling alive again. This guy, at such a crucial time, he gave me a controller. What's the controller for? She didn't even hear what Gu Qing-shan said just now, so she only asked now. Press it here, Gu Qing-shan directly demonstrated. The blazing angel flew up and disappeared without a trace. It's gone? It's usually on a near-orbit satellite. Only when you call it will it come down, Gu Qing-shan answered. Why do you have to put on a near-orbit satellite? Su Cher curiously asked. That's convenient. It can be used anywhere in space-time. Not to mention, today is the first time it's been used. Impartial Goddess wants to do a full inspection on it, Gu Qing-shan explained. That impressive? As soon as Su Cher said so, she looked at the crowd, then realized something and blushed. Right, let's go somewhere else. Let's sit down and talk, she said. Sure, let's go. Today's my birthday. I'll treat you to a feast. I'll do as you say. The two of them walked away from the crowd. Suddenly, a burst of applause came. The applause became louder and louder, becoming louder and more passionate. Like a tidal wave, the applause continued. Everyone was looking at Gu Qing-shan, smiling as they applauded. Towards a scientist with such scientific achievements, every sane person has a natural sense of respect. Without such people, there would be no progress in civilization. And human society has to pay their respects to such people. Gu Qing-shan looked at the crowd in surprise, then smiled and nodded. Behind a school building, inside a bulletproof limousine, Su family's head, Su Xingqiao, was sitting inside, silently watching everything until Gu Qing-shan and Su Cher walked away. Everyone at the scene was Su family's most capable personnel, so it wouldn't be a problem to set up a few surveillance cameras. Su Xingqiao stayed silent for a bit, then ordered, everyone sign a top-secret agreement. Send a 100-man team to escort young Miss. He silently laughed, then said, send a video to my son and daughter-in-law. Tell them to watch it 100 times. After that, Su Xingqiao turned on his hollow brain and connected to Impartial Goddess. After talking with Impartial Goddess for a bit, the hollow brain closed again. Su Xingqiao fell into a long silence. Suddenly, his hollow brain lit up. His subordinate reported, the young Miss assassination was done by the Nie family. Su Xingqiao coldly laughed, saying, do it, don't hesitate. I want to see news about them within an hour after the young Miss assassination failed. The Nie family's people are all dead. What happened? Su Xingqiao raised his voice. The other party did it cleanly. We couldn't find any useful information, the subordinate answered. Su Xingqiao closed his eyes, thought for a bit, then closed the call. Today was destined to be a busy day. A few moments later, his hollow brain lit up again. Su Xingqiao looked at the name on the hollow brain and was surprised. The hollow brain showed one of the 9 lords of the Federation, Zhang family's lord, Zhang Xingji. The Zhang family was an aristocratic family that he quite admired, not only because of the existence of a martial saint, but also because they were more open-minded than the other lords. Old Zhang, it's rare for you to contact me on your own. Aha! No problem, no problem. At our age, don't we always worry about our children and grandchildren? Hearing that, Su Xingqiao was a bit interested. He followed up, that's true, it's hard not to worry. Someone even tried to touch my granddaughter today. People these days, their minds are all rotten to the core. Let's have some tea tonight. Some things have to be discussed face-to-face, the other party said. All right, Su Xingqiao thought for a bit, then agreed. They chatted a bit more, then hung up. Chapter 82. A coffee shop. The environment was quiet and elegant. The atmosphere was relaxed. This armor, you must have spent quite a bit of money, right? I'll reimburse you, saying so. Su Cher took out her hollow brain and was about to transfer the money. Gu Qing-shan quickly stopped her. No need. I used merit to ask the goddess to help me make it. After it was done, the goddess rewarded me with a large amount of merit. Su Cher sighed in relief and calmed down. She went into chatting mode. Why does a blazing angel have 2 wings of light? A type of energy materialization, Gu Qing-shan curtly explained. Radars, optical weapons, sensors, sound waves, etc. All of them are integrated on top. Looking at Su Cher's confused expression, he concluded, of course, the main reason is to create the shape of an angel. Do you think it looks good? It does. Su Cher smiled. She understood this. Right. When did you meet Princess Anna? Su Cher suddenly asked. This time, the topic jumped a bit too much. A few days ago, I met her at a bar, got a drink together, and got to know her, Gu Qingshan answered. Su Cher tilted her chin up and complained. Drink? I'm also 18 years old today. That's right. Let's go. I'll take you out for a drink. Gu Qingshan smiled. Su Cher was very happy and said, I still have to wait for a few other classmates. Let's go together, she explained. Everyone knows it's my birthday, so they've been asking me to treat them for a long time. It's not easy to refuse. All right, then let's go together, Gu Qingshan said. After thinking for a bit, he took out his hollow brain and began to exchange credits. On the black market, the exchange rate for credits was 1 merit point for 10,000 credits. If you exchange it directly from the Federation's public system, it's 1 merit for 8,000 credits, a lot less. However, Gu Qingshan was now rich and overbearing, so he wasn't willing to spend the time and effort to go to the black market to exchange. Moreover, with his astronomical amount of merit points, he didn't care about such a small difference. I want some credits from archery. If I exchange them for 80,000 credits, it should be enough. He thought to himself as he operated the hollow brain. Seeing this, Su Cher seemed to have thought of something and fell silent. What happened? Gu Qingshan noticed that there was something wrong with her expression and asked softly. Su Cher replied, It's nothing. I was just wondering, what level of strength Brother Qingshan is at right now? In just a few words, Princess Anna thought highly of Gu Qingshan, but she did not know his true strength. My strength? It's hard to say. Gu Qingshan frowned. Gu Qingshan was a cultivator at the peak of the 7th layer of the aura refining realm. She was about to awaken her divine ability and advance to the foundation building realm. But the cultivation world's ranking system is a bit different from reality, so he should be a martial grandmaster realm. But Gu Qingshan is also a sword cultivator. Sword cultivators are much stronger than normal cultivators, so it's quite common for them to kill people above their level. He also has secret arts, as well as his experience from the past life. This is hard to measure. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then answered. Under normal circumstances, it should be Grandmaster Realm. Su Cher hesitated for a bit, then finally said, Guess what my current strength is? She was a bit nervous, but since she's already decided, she still has to face it. I hope I won't give him too much pressure. The difference in status is already big enough, but now, combined with my absolute strength, he probably won't feel good. Men are creatures that care about face. If his woman is stronger than him, there'll be a lot of problems when they get along. But Anna is so strong, and her status is high, she can still get along with him. Su Cher doesn't believe that she can't do it. I heard you've awakened your wind element. What's your current strength? Gu Qingshan asked as expected. My wind element has been awakened to the 4th stage, chaotic wind, Su Cher muttered. Chaotic wind is already the highest level of strength in this world, 2 stages higher than a martial grandmaster. The other side went silent. In our family's history, there have been a total of 7 4th-stage spirit energy users. I'm the 8th. I've just broken through, so my realm isn't very stable. So my family takes this very seriously, Su Cher continued. After today, I'll have to stop my studies and return to the family to train my abilities. Still silence. He still didn't say anything. Su Cher felt her heart tightening, as if someone was squeezing her throat. Even breathing became difficult. She slowly lowered her head. I'm the eldest daughter of an aristocratic family. He's an orphan. I'm a 4th-stage spirit energy user, while he's still very far away from me. From now on, I'll be in Chongning County. He'll be in the capital. Could it be that the hearts of the two of them were going to grow apart because of this? But if I'm too weak, I won't be able to protect him in the future. An indescribable bitterness filled her heart. Su Cher pursed her lips. She was about to smile at him, change the topic, and continue chatting. Suddenly, a big, warm hand covered her and patted her head. That's a good thing. A warm, watery male voice came. He continued, to be able to reach this level, you must have gone through a lot of hardship, Dong. Su Cher felt her heart being lifted off the ground. All the hardships, all the pressure. At this moment, turned into a gentle breeze and flew away. The warm hand didn't stop and quickly retracted. But this warm feeling stayed in Su Cher's heart for a very, very long time. She smiled from the bottom of her heart and quickly spoke. It's been hard, but in order to have more say in the family, becoming stronger is a must. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan smiled and said, keep working hard. If one day you can break through to 5th stage, I'll follow you. He doesn't mind. He really doesn't mind. Su Cher silently thought to herself. At this moment, she didn't know how to express her joy. All right, follow me. Saying so, Su Cher didn't know why she reached her hand out, wanting to shake his hand. Halfway through, she suddenly realized what she was doing. No, what am I doing? Su Cher bit her lip. Her hand stopped halfway, unable to move forward or backward. Suddenly, a large, warm hand reached out. The two hands clasped together. A bit later, 2 of Su Cher's classmates came. Both of them were very beautiful. The taller one was very friendly, taking the initiative to talk to Gu Qingshan. Ah, so you're Su Cher's man. What a handsome man you are, Su Cher hit her and said with an embarrassed expression. He's my classmate. Nice to meet you. I'm Gu Qingshan, Su Cher's high school classmate. Gu Qingshan smiled and said, I'm Li Tong. Nice to meet you, the taller girl said. The other girl had been observing Gu Qingshan for a while before saying, Nice to meet you. I'm Sun Mingyu. Chapter 83. Sun Mingwei answered, I happen to know a good bar. Which one? Su Cher was intrigued. Rainbow Bar, Sun Kaiyun answered. Li Tong scowled and looked at Sun Mingwei. Sun Kaiyun pretended not to notice and continued. Shui Er, trust me. In the capital circle, this bar has the best atmosphere. You won't regret going there then. Su Cher looked at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan nodded. Let's go. Su Cher was excited. Wait for me. I'll drive a shuttle to pick you up. I'll go with you. Gu Qingshan followed Su Cher out of the cafe. As the door closed, Li Tong asked, What are you doing? Rainbow Bar only serves aristocrats. Su Cher's friend is dressed like a normal person. You'll only embarrass him like this, Sun Kaiyun answered. I'm doing this for Shui Er's own good. The difference in status is too great. He doesn't deserve Shui Er at all. That's up to Shui Er, Li Tong answered. A woman in love can't think straight. She can't decide anything. It's up to us friends to help beat down this toad who wants to climb up to aristocrats, Sun Kaiyun said. In the future, Su Shui Er will thank me, she finally said. Li Tong sighed helplessly. Regardless of what they're talking about here, this is going to be a happy night. A few moments later, Su Cher drove a shuttle to pick up the 2 girls and brought Gu Qingshan to Rainbow Bar. Just like Sun Kaiyun said, this was a decent bar. Although they had to scan their hollow brain before entering, the bar's owner and manager both quickly came out to greet them. This level of hospitality was quite satisfying. Strangely, they couldn't help but want to talk to Gu Qingshan. They shook hands with Gu Qingshan 5 times, even took a photo with her once. It was too strange. After that, Gu Qingshan personally mixed the drinks and served all kinds of cocktails to the 3 beauties. Considering that it was Su Cher's first time drinking, and the other 2 were also girls, Gu Qingshan controlled the alcohol level perfectly, so that everyone could be in high spirits without getting drunk. There was a small interlude midway. Sun Kaiyun asked about the university Gu Qingshan was studying at and called a few recommended students from a national defense university over, saying that they would help Gu Qingshan make some friends in advance. However, all the students from a national defense university said that they had never seen Gu Qingshan before. His name was not on the list of new students either. The atmosphere was a little tense. Luckily, Gu Qingshan used her hollow brain to connect to impartial goddess in front of everyone. Only then did he realize to his surprise that he had entered the university as a professor. He was surprised, but the onlookers were shocked. Impartial goddess can't be wrong. Such a young mecha research expert was too monstrous. Sun Kaiyun hurriedly apologized. Those students from a national defense university immediately left with their tails between their legs. After this, Sun Kaiyun didn't dare to look up at him anymore. The tall beauty Li Tong, on the other hand, was looking at Gu Qingshan without hesitation. The way she looked at Gu Qingshan was like she was looking at a flying pig. while Su Cher, from start to finish, only took small sips of Gu Qing-shan's cocktail, smiling sweetly. It wasn't until the three girls returned to their dorm that Su Cher pulled Sun Kaiyan out, telling her something serious and resolute. What a wonderful night it was. After Gu Qing-shan sent the three girls back, she turned around with a deep smile on her face. When they parted just now, Su Cher was clearly a bit tipsy. Her face was flushed red from drinking. Looking up at Gu Qing-shan and said something. Qing-shan-ji, wait for me. This was the boldest thing she's ever said since she met Gu Qing-shan. Saying so, she lowered her head, not daring to look at Gu Qing-shan at all, and ran back to the female dorm. Thinking about her face, Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but laugh. He was walking alone on the street at night. When he passed by the central square, he saw a huge crowd below the big screen. Gu Qing-shan followed the crowd's line of sight and looked at the screen. A male reporter appeared on the screen, wearing a poncho, standing on the undulating deck. Dear viewers, we can see that the sea has changed a bit. There's a thick fog around us. If we only look with our eyes, we can't see anything beyond 10 meters. Gu Qing-shan scowled and stopped. The battle at the front line has ended. We weren't allowed to get close, but as war reporters, we have our own methods. Wait a minute. You can look at the water around us. The water is still rising and falling. What a strange sight, the male reporter continued. Half a day ago, we lost contact with the island nation. Now we're heading in that direction to see what kind of malfunction caused the signal to be cut off. The male reporter was seriously explaining, but didn't know that the thick fog had covered both him and the screen. Only his silhouette could be seen on the screen. A loud roar came from afar. Please wait a minute. I think we've heard something. What the hell? What is that? A high-pitched scream resounded, as if the owner of the voice saw something terrifying. What is that? No. Help! The screen went dark. A few moments later, the screen returned to normal, but this time it was a studio. The two anchors were pale, barely able to sit still, and explained, "There seems to be a problem at the front line. We'll continue to follow up on the situation." Following this, we'll continue with the news on the square. The crowd exchanged glances. The sound of discussion became louder and louder. But the news had already switched to something else. The famous cult of Mormonism has declared that the end of the world has arrived. Some experts say that the Mormonism has always been focused on the reproduction of humanity. They know nothing about what's actually happening in the world. They can't be trusted. Gu Qing-shan quickened his steps and left the square. The fog has begun to cover the ocean. From now on, the ocean will become a forbidden zone for humanity. In the past life, the fog appeared half a month after the island disappeared. It's been brought forward. It seems like everything has changed in this life. It's only when the monsters start to try and land on land that the first calamity begins. What will happen next? Gu Qing-shan wasn't sure either. He quickly entered a secluded alleyway. Cool down time is over. Would you like to enter the cultivation world? Enter. After he left, a few more moments passed. A few people tailed him, but as they entered the alleyway, there wasn't a single person in sight. One of them sniffed and said, "I lost him. That brat is a bit strange to be able to kill a wolf. He must have some sort of ability that no one else knows about." Another shook his head. "Let's go. We'll return first. Although the bounty has been canceled, the higher-ups won't just let him go after killing one of our people," the leader said. After they left, a few more shadows appeared in the alleyway, silently floating in the air. These black shadows exuded a strange and powerful aura from head to toe. The life signature detector shows that he was here just now, one of the shadows said. "But he's gone," another shadow said. "I'll do it." A shadow came out from the crowd. He pointed a finger at the alleyway and stood there for a minute without saying anything. "How strange. I don't know where he went either. I'm guessing it's a rare, hiding God's chosen skill." He pulled his finger back and said, "Then there's no other way," the leader ordered. "The hiring period has only been 10 minutes. Report this to the Bai family." The call was quickly connected and quickly ended. TCH, the person holding the communicator, was very displeased, saying, "That's why I hate these aristocrats the most. They want to terminate the hiring right away and pay me right now." The shadows all went into an uproar, obviously very displeased. "That's nothing. Aristocrats are always stingy." The leader comforted his subordinates, saying, We only came out for 10 minutes, didn't do anything, and we already earned 1 billion. Everyone should be satisfied. As soon as he said that, the shadow's anger subsided a bit. The leader thought for a bit, then said, coming out for nothing really does damage our reputation as the world's #1 hitman squad. We won't take any jobs from the Bai family from now on. The shadows all nodded. They slowly merged into the darkness of the night, disappearing into the alleyway. Chapter 84. Baihua Palace. Gu Qingshan doesn't seem to have left at all. As he looked up, the scene in the Baihua mirror was still going on. Peacock Beast Saint put the Beast Saint's corpses away one by one, then picked up Blade Emperor's corpse and flew towards humanity's frontline. On her throne, 100 Flowers Fairy told Dowling, Gong Senji's wounds are very heavy. My incarnation is currently treating him. He'll be back soon. Thank you, Shifu, Gu Qingshan replied. 100 Flowers Fairy suddenly stopped, then spoke from afar. Let him in. After a while, Lung Tianxing staggered into Baihua Palace. As soon as he saw Gu Qingshan, he dejectedly shook his head at Gu Qingshan. 100 Flowers Fairy spoke. Of the things you found, only one of them meets my requirements. Lung Tianxing clasped his fist without much interest. Yes, 100 Flowers Fairy lightly smiled and said, but my disciple said that his relationship with you isn't shallow, so he came to me for help. So I reluctantly let you pass, disciple. Lung Tianxing looked around, only to see that other than himself, Gu Qingshan was the only one standing there. He became 100 Flowers Fairy's disciple. Lung Tianxing's heart felt like it was being flipped upside down, completely shocked. One of the 3 saints, 100 Flowers Fairy, just took in a disciple today. If word of this gets out, it'll shock the entire cultivation world. It's easy to predict that in the next few years, more and more people will come to Baihua Immortal Country to challenge the board. Gu Qingshan looked at 100 Flowers Fairy. Seeing the saint nod, she knew it was to help him develop connections. Gu Qingshan patted Lung Tianxing's shoulder and said, hurry up and tell me, what's your request? Lung Tianxing regained his senses, gratefully looked at Gu Qingshan, then hurriedly told her his request. The 100 Flowers Fairy ordered him to take off his shirt and take a look at the demon spider. It's a rare breed. 100 Flowers Fairy waved at the magic spider. Come out. The demon spider crawled out from Lung Tianxing's chest without hesitation, ran to the 10,000 flower throne, and curled up. Cut off contact with him and go to the 10,000 poison temple to get a token. From now on, you can cultivate here, 100 Flowers Fairy said after some thought. The demon spider repeatedly nodded its head and crawled out of the 100 Flowers Palace. As soon as the demon spider left, Lung Tianxing's entire body started to tremble uncontrollably. The next second, an abundance of spirit energy filled his entire body. His spirit pressure kept increasing, finally stabilizing at Golden Core middle stage. His cultivation was finally no longer suppressed and had completely returned. Thank you, Saint. Lung Tianxing was overjoyed. Okay, go out from the front door of the hall. Gong Senji is waiting for you outside, 100 Flowers Fairy said. General Gong Sun is here? Understood. Lung Tianxing is a bit surprised, but also a bit confused. He grunted in acknowledgement and retreated. Before he left, he took out a communication talisman and put it in Gu Qingshan's hand. Through this talisman, Gu Qingshan can contact him at any time. After Lung Tianxing left, 100 Flowers Fairy said, Gong Senji has been saved, and my clone at the front line has already explained everything. You've done quite a bit this time. I'm sure you'll be promoted 1 rank in the future. Thank you, Shifu, Gu Qingshan said. Glancing at the War God UI, he saw that the quest has been completed. But now isn't the time to check it carefully. So Gu Qingshan calmed down and decided to ignore it for now. 100 Flowers Fairy smiled mysteriously and said, There's a person. Help me bring him to the front door to meet up with Gong Senji. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. 100 Flowers Fairy looked at him like he's an idiot and said, I'll have her wait in the side hall. You'll know when you see her go. 100 Flowers Fairy swung her sleeve. Stupid disciple. This is as far as Shifu can help you. 100 Flowers Fairy sat on the platform, silently thinking. Gu Qingshan started to walk towards the side hall, only realizing halfway. If Gongsun Ji is at the front door, then the other person must be Ning Yuechan. Strange, the two of them were treated separately. Ning Yuechan is a female cultivator, so her wounds are naturally inconvenient for outsiders to see. 100 Flowers Fairy leading her to the side hall to be treated is a matter of course. That's right, that must be the case. Shifu really knows what to do. Gu Qingshan suddenly understood. He walked to the side hall at the back of the main hall and saw a familiar figure. A silver mask, a gleaming blade, a tight-fitting golden armor that accentuates her graceful figure. Even without showing her face, her demeanor are already top-notch. Your wounds, how are they? Gu Qingshan asked. The saint healed me, and even healed my old wounds. That's good. General Gongsun is waiting for you in the front hall. Lead the way. We'll go now. The two of them walked out side by side. On the jade path between the palaces, there was a faint fragrance, a gentle breeze, but no one was walking. Ning Yuechan looked at Gu Qingshan and spoke with a serious tone. I owe you for saving my life this time. Gu Qingshan waved her hand dismissively. No need to be so formal. We're best friends through life and death. There's no need to say too much. Best friends through life and death. Ning Yuechan silently muttered. Then her gaze fell onto the sword at Gu Qingshan's waist. Gu Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. This is bad. Why did I forget to put the earth sword away? Sure enough, right after that, Ning Yuechan asked, This sword, Gu Qingshan quickly answered. The saint gave it to me, since it was given to him by the saint, as a mere chi training realm cultivator. Gu Qingshan wouldn't dare to refuse. Not to mention, the saint himself killed the demon, saved you, and healed you. You dare to refuse the saint's face at a time like this? That's so reasonable that Ning Yuechan hesitated for a bit, but had no choice but to accept it. She whispered, If you don't have to learn the sword, try not to. You hear me? Gu Qingshan quickly nodded. Don't be ridiculous. This is a rejuvenation realm peak cultivator. With Gu Qingshan's current strength, he wouldn't be able to win. He doesn't want to kneel down and beg for mercy. Ning Yuechan continued. After I leave, you have to work hard and learn some real skills from the saint. Otherwise, your cultivation will be too low and you'll be controlled by others. I know, Gu Qingshan answered. Remember, you're not allowed to learn the sword. Ning Yuechan reminded him. I will, Gu Qingshan guaranteed. Ning Yuechan stared at him, then suddenly took off her mask, revealing her beauty that could topple a country. She said, If you have time, come visit Heaven's Limits sect. Tell them my name. Without even thinking, Gu Qingshan habitually answered. Yes, hearing the word yes. Ning Yuechan felt her face getting a bit hot, so she quickly put her mask back on. It's a good thing she put it on in time, otherwise the other party would have seen the redness on her face. Huh, am I being too unreserved? She thought to herself. It was now that Gu Qingshan realized. I think I'm being flirted with. But time doesn't flow backwards, so Ning Yuechan was already taking the lead to walk forward. This disciple, how could she be so useless at such a crucial moment? Chapter 85. As Ning Yuechan was running very fast, Gu Qingshan also sped up, wanting to catch up. But as soon as he sped up, Ning Yuechan ran even faster. Gu Qingshan was surprised. This girl, why are you running? Hello, he called. It would have been better if he didn't call out, but as soon as he did, Ning Yuechan ran away like a rabbit that got shot by an arrow. Gu Qingshan could clearly see that in her panic, Ning Yuechan even used her movement technique. Movement technique? Just how scared are you of me? He speechlessly gave up on chasing. But he didn't know that Ning Yuechan's face was already completely red. Ning Yuechan was smarter than him, so she's already realized. This is Bai Hua Palace. Even if the saint doesn't want to see anything, they'll still be able to sense their every move. Thinking that, she couldn't do anything else, so much so that she didn't even want to say another word. The two of them quickly arrived at the front of the palace, meeting up with Gongsun Ji and Lung Tianxing. I didn't think you'd be able to do this much. Even being accepted by the saint, Gongsun Ji sighed, his face also full of shock. It was General Gongsun who couldn't bear to see me die on the spot and sent me away. That's why I'm here now, Gu Qingshan said. Good karma. Gong Sun Ji smiled and asked. That's right, good karma. Gu Qing Shan also smiled. We need to return to the front line right now. Everyone is waiting for us to report what happened, Gong Sun Ji said. He gave a communication talisman to Gu Qing Shan. Keep in touch, Gong Sun Ji said. I still don't have my own communication talisman, Gu Qing Shan explained. It's fine, just focus on your cultivation. The next time we meet, I hope your cultivation will increase by leaps and bounds. Gong Sun Ji patted him on the shoulder. This young man's talent, temperament, and methods were all top-notch. It was just that his cultivation was too lacking. Lung Tianxing also walked up and patted his shoulder. Ning Yuechan didn't say anything. She just looked at him deeply, then turned around and left. The flying boat left very quickly. Gu Qing Shan only watched for a while before the flying boat disappeared into the horizon. He turned around and returned to Hunter Flower Hall. He saw a white goose standing in the middle of the hall, looking at him with disdain. Gu Qing Shan was puzzled. Isn't this one of the incarnations of the 100 Flowers Fairy? The 100 Flowers Fairy, who was sitting on the 10,000 Flowers throne, said, Disciple Qing Shan, come and greet your eldest senior brother, by Ingtian. Gu Qing Shan was speechless. The 100 Flowers Fairy had actually created a clone to act as her disciple. At this moment, Gu Qing Shan really wanted to know what the 100 Flowers Fairy was thinking. Of course, Gu Qing Shan wouldn't say it out loud, so he clasped his fist to the white goose. Back at the green rock, thank you for making things convenient for me. Brother Goose, I thank you, the white goose scoffed, then muttered, It's not like Ning Yuechan will eat people. You brat, why are you acting so cowardly in front of a woman? Gu Qing Shan honestly replied, The first lesson Shifu taught me was to not offend a beautiful woman with a high cultivation. Did I say it out loud? It's like I don't feel as much pressure when I'm facing the white goose and not the 100 Flowers Fairy. HM, that's right. It's fine if I'm being respectful to Shifu. But if I'm acting like a yes man in front of my senior brother, that's not how a sword cultivator should act. Not to mention the fact that the 100 Flowers Fairy would be suspicious. Even with Gu Qing Shan's personality, she wouldn't be able to keep up the act. Thinking that, Gu Qing Shan decided to just let go a bit. Hearing him say that, the white goose was speechless for a while. After a while, it flapped its wings and said, Seems like you'll have to learn a bit from your second senior brother on this. Second senior brother? Gu Qing Shan didn't understand what that meant. On the platform, the 100 Flowers Fairy spoke. You have 2 senior brothers as well as you can call it a junior sister. I'll officially accept the 2 of you into my sect today. While they were talking, 2 figures walked into Baihua Palace one after the other. Gu Qing Shan turned around to see that it was a man and a woman. They're the other 2 people of Baihua sect. The man seems to be a bit older than me, while the woman only seems to be 7 to 8 years old, still a little girl. The man is handsome, perhaps even pretty, holding a jade fan in his hand and a pearl belt around his waist. He's very elegant. At first glance, you might even think that he's a woman dressed as a man. While the little girl looks like she's carved from jade, her eyes are big and lively. Her hair is tied into 2 ponytails. Her face is filled with nervousness and shyness from meeting strangers, small and cute, enough to make anyone want to take pity on her. The man walked up first, circled around Gu Qing Shan, then sighed in relief. He said, Seems like in our Baihua sect, when it comes to looks, I'm still number 1. Pah. You? You look like a woman, yet you dare to show off here. The white goose Buying Tian scoffed. Hearing the white goose say that, the man turned his face away, pretending not to hear him, but affectionately patted Gu Qing Shan's shoulder, saying, Junior brother, I'm Qin Xiaolu, the Xiaolu that listens to the spring rain at night. The white goose chimed in. That's right, he goes around swindling and deceiving the hearts of girls. That's why he's a Xiaolu of Yihong Lu. Qin Xiaolu was furious, clasping his fist towards the 10,000 Flowers throne, saying, Shifu, I've only just arrived, but first brother is already tearing down my stage in front of everyone. Bullying me in front of you. 100 Flowers Fairy ignored him and told Gu Qing Shan. This is your second brother, Qin Xiaolu. He's a bit of a fool, but he's very smart, proficient in all 6 arts. Gu Qing Shan looked at Qin Xiaolu and clasped her fist. This humble one is Gu Qing Shan, greetings second brother. So he's the famous young master Zhuolang, Qin Xiaolu. proficient in all 6 arts. For a saint to say this, the weight of these words isn't just a little bit heavy. Divination, formations, alchemy, smithing, talismans, and food, these are the 6 arts. If a normal cultivator is proficient in any of them, they'll be able to gain a foothold in the cultivation world and obtain a large amount of resources to cultivate. Qin Shaolu is a true monster, proficient in all 6 arts, proficient in all of them, known by the cultivation world as a seed that only appears once in 1,000 years. If that wasn't the case, how could he have caught the eye of the 100 Flowers fairy and become the saint's disciple? But he doesn't have the heart to cultivate, doesn't like to fight, only letting himself go, wasting his time. Everyone who sees him can only stare at him with disdain. But the 100 Flowers fairy doesn't care about him, saying that his opportunity to cultivate hasn't come yet. The time when Qin Shaolu truly started to cultivate seriously was 7 years later, the day the 100 Flowers fairy died. On that day, he went from Golden Core early stage to Rejuvenation Realm, then ascended middle stage before stopping. At the time, this incident shocked the entire cultivation world. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't save the 100 Flowers fairy. This became a permanent obstacle in his heart, the reason why he couldn't surpass the mortal realm and enter sainted realm. Qin Shaolu angrily clasped his fist, saying, "Junior brother Gu, let's get closer from now on. Don't mind first brother." Seeing him like this, Gu Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Sage, is this my junior brother?" A timid voice rang out. Gu Qingshan turned to look, only to see that it was the little girl who spoke. She opened her eyes wide, full of hope, occasionally sneaking glances at Gu Qingshan. The white goose flapped its wings and told her sympathetically, "You can't be his senior sister. He's your senior brother, my 3rd junior brother sure enough." The 100 Flowers fairy spoke. Xiao, I've never officially accepted you as a disciple, and since you're the youngest, today I'll officially accept you and Gu Qingshan into the sect. You'll be the last." She then spoke softly. "The reason for this is so that they can all take care of you." When the girl named Su heard the latter half of the sentence, the disappointment on her face was swept away, and she happily responded with an N. The 100 Flowers fairy waved her hand. 2 small jade tags appeared in front of Gu Qingshan and Xiao. Chapter 86. The jade badge is proof of identity. With it, there's no place in Baihua Immortal Country or Baihua Palace that you can't go. 100 Flowers fairy smiled and said, "My sect doesn't have many people, so we don't care about rules. Just focus on your cultivation. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask first brother or second brother. If you really don't understand, you can come find me." Yes, Gu Qingshan and Xiao both put away their badges. 100 Flowers fairy ordered, "Buying Tian. Today Xiao will also officially move in. Prepare a place for them." Yes, the white goose answered, flapped its wings, and flew away. "Evil disciple," 100 Flowers fairy said again. "Yes, sure Fu." Qin Shaolu nodded and bowed. "First, show Qingshan around. Tell him about our sect situation. In the afternoon, you'll replace your first brother and go to the Blue Rock to pick a candidate for the Baihua list." "Yes," Qin Shaolu answered. "Qingshan, Xiao, you can start cultivating tomorrow. The semester examination isn't too far away. At that time, you'll also need to go through the motions and see the cultivators of the world." "All right, you can leave." Gu Qingshan and Xiao both nodded. Yes, the 3 of them left Baihua Palace. Walking on the white jade floor, Qin Shaolu rubbed his stomach, then suddenly said, "I'm a bit hungry." Xiao's eyes lit up. Even Gu Qingshan was a bit expectant. Young Master Zhualang was known to be proficient in all 6 arts, especially spirit cooking. The spirit cooking that Qin Shaolu makes isn't only good for the cultivator's body, it's also the best in the world. In a past life, Qin Shaolu was always the target of many gluttonous players, always trying to get on his good side. Xiao softly asked, "Second brother, what are we eating today?" Qin Shaolu looked at her, then at Gu Qingshan, then said, "Very well, since first brother isn't here, and today is your big day, we'll eat roast goose." Gu Qingshan suddenly understood why 100 Flowers fairy called him an evil disciple. Pe. Xiao was so angry that her face was red. What big day? Also, if you dare to eat roast goose, I'll tell first brother right away. Don't tell him, don't tell him. Junior sister Xiao, Qin Xiaolu hurriedly said. Fairy, don't have a by Hua fairy. Xiao of Xiao Hua Xiao is as by Hua. Gu Qin Shan suddenly said. I heard that by Hua fairy country's spear herbs and flowers are famous everywhere. How about we have a vegetarian meal? All right, he thought for a bit. We'll take a cloud boat to Bai Hua Fairy Country's territory. There's a restaurant called Yi Hong. We can listen to music while Xiao glared at him. Qin Xiaolu immediately changed his mind. We won't go there. Let's go to Bai Ji Temple on South Street. There's a lot of vegetarian ingredients there. However, he winked at Gu Qin Shan, signaling that she'll have plenty of chances later. What a clown. Gu Qin Shan couldn't help but think. The three of them left the palace and went to Bai Ji Temple on the south side. Qin Xiaolu was busy preparing the vegetarian meal. Xiao and Gu Qin Shan aren't familiar, so she was a bit embarrassed and stood up to look at the Buddha statues. It was now that Gu Qin Shan finally had some free time. She opened the War God UI. Lines of glowing text were already displayed on it. Destiny Quest, Fallen War, completed. Quest description. Gong Sun Ji and Ning Yuechan have safely returned to humanity, revealing the secret of the world to humanity's cultivators. At the same time, the traitor of humanity's upper echelon, Blade Emperor, has been killed by Hundred Flowers Fairy, ushering humanity into an unprecedented situation. Quest reward. War God's Thaumaturgy, special storyline. Would you like to receive the quest reward? Gu Qin Shan answered without hesitation. Yes. All the content on the War God UI disappeared, replaced by a circular wheel. There were 5 deep holes on the wheel, and complicated patterns were engraved inside. Lines of glowing text appeared. Within 48 hours, the user must find 5 items that fit the pattern and place them into the holes on the wheel. Regardless of whether the 5 items are gathered or not, after 48 hours, the user will be able to draw War God's Thaumaturgy. The faster the gathering speed, the higher the level of the items gathered, the higher the chance of drawing a powerful thaumaturgy. Begin countdown. Reading the description. Gu Qin Shan lightly rubbed his chin. Regardless of whether or not he can gather all 5 items, he will still be able to draw a thaumaturgy. But since it takes less time and the items are all high level, it will definitely be easier for him to draw a powerful thaumaturgy. There are only 48 hours. Gu Qin Shan quickly looked at the 5 patterns. The first one was a monster whose face couldn't be seen, crawling on the ground and eating a corpse. The second one was a winding staircase of stone that leads downwards, leading to an unfathomable abyss. The third one was a starry sky with a planet wrapped in a giant monster's limbs. As Gu Qin Shan looked at it, he mused, this pattern, could it be? He looked down to see that the fourth one was a scene of a dead person coming back to life. The fifth one was a thick cloud with hands and legs reaching out. These are Huangquan species and unknown species. Unknown species are also known as chaos species. The faceless giant is a chaos species monster. Sure enough, Gu Qin Shan was a bit relieved. This was also the first time he came back from the apocalypse that he has a deep understanding of monsters. If it was someone else, they wouldn't even know what these 5 patterns are talking about. These 5 patterns depict the different types of demons that roam the 2 worlds, divided into 5 in total. They are chaos species, abyss species, space species, Huangquan species, and unknown species. From the looks of it, these 5 holes are meant to be filled with the 5 types of demon body parts. Gu Qin Shan had a rough idea. Then he frowned deeply. Time is so tight. Where am I going to find 5 types of demons? While he was thinking, someone tapped his shoulder. What are you thinking about? You look so worried. Qin Xiaolu put down the plate and asked. I'm thinking about where I can get demon body parts, Gu Qin Shan answered. Qin Xiaolu's expression turned serious and spoke seriously. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Those things don't taste good when made. From the looks of it, he's already tried it before. Gu Qin Shan felt a chill down his spine and quickly said, It's not for eating, it's for something else. It was now that Qin Xiaolu smiled and said, And here I was wondering what you were worried about. Seems like you still don't understand your own identity. Identity? Gu Qin Shan asked. That's right, Qin Shaolu puffed out his chest and said, "You're a member of Baihua sect, a direct disciple of one of the three saints. The entire Baihua immortal country belongs to your Shifu. What kind of cultivation resources do you not have?" He then continued, "I'm in charge of half of the storage. After we finish eating, I'll take you to get as much as you can." Gu Qingshan asked. "Shifu won't say anything?" Qin Shaolu turned around and stared at him. "She won't care what you take, as long as you don't lose face during the semester examination." Gu Qingshan understood and answered, "Of course, is the semester examination that hard?" A young girl's voice came. Chapter 87. Qin Shaolu immediately put on a smile and said, "Ah, it's not that hard. It's just a formality. The only problem is that I've already been there last time, so I can't go this time. So I'll have to rely on third brother and you to hold the fort." Xiao looked at Gu Qingshan and asked with a bit of nervousness and curiosity, "Can the two of us do it?" After all, they've only just met, so the little girl is probably still a bit cautious. Gu Qingshan smiled and said, "It'll be fine, don't worry." As soon as everyone arrived, Qin Shaolu started to serve the vegetarian meal. While arranging the tableware, he sighed and said, "Qin Shan, you don't know this, but eldest brother is a demon, and I don't like to cultivate. And Xiao is still young, so our sect doesn't even have a proper cultivator who can hold the fort." Gu Qingshan smiled and said, "It's fine, I'll try my best." Qin Shaolu was very satisfied with his attitude, put his arm around his shoulder and said, "Not bad. I'll rely on you from now on. You're the one who wants to slack off." Xiao wrinkled her nose and said in a low voice. Qin Shaolu pretended he didn't hear anything and invited the two of them to eat. His cooking was indeed quite good, worthy of being called a master of the six arts. Gu Qingshan and Xiao ate for a long time without saying a word. After the meal, hearing that the two of them were going to check the demon's corpse, Xiao turned around and left. Qin Shaolu took Gu Qingshan all the way to a barren mountain. Demons smell disgusting when they're alive, and they still smell bad after they're dead. So I threw them all here, Qin Shaolu said. Gu Qingshan looked around. This was a barren mountain without any signs of life. Looking at the barren mountain from afar, you could see a lot of strange things at the foot of the mountain. A huge stone ball as tall as 7 people, a pale white stone tablet, a bronze coffin full of scars, a puppet covered in blood. These incomprehensible things were everywhere, covering the entire mountain peak. Qin Shaolu said, "There are only corpses and boring things here. Let's go up the mountain and have a look." "Very well," Gu Qingshan said. The two of them walked on the stone path and soon reached the top of the mountain. Halfway up the mountain, Qin Shaolu suddenly picked up the broken sword on the roadside and muttered, "Strange, I didn't see this thing last time." Before he could finish his words, the shadow of a middle-aged man appeared on the sword. "Brat, you're lucky. I'm a powerful being at the Immortal King realm. Because my injuries are too heavy, I have no choice but to hide in this sword to recuperate. Bring me away, I'll teach you how to cultivate." The middle-aged man's illusory figure said. "Oh, which era are you from?" Qin Shaolu asked with great interest. The middle-aged man's illusory figure was taken aback. He didn't expect that the other party would have such a reaction. He thought for a moment and said, 3,000 years ago, old-fashioned, you're outdated." Qin Shaolu didn't wait for him to finish and put the sword back into its scabbard, then threw it on the ground. A light flashed on the scabbard. The sword struggled for a bit before returning to silence. "Bullshit, Immortal King realm. Never heard of it. Using the possession seal in front of this young master. The only reason I didn't kill you is because you're the sect's property." Saying so, Qin Shaolu continued to walk up the mountain. "Wait a minute." Gu Qingshan suddenly picked up the broken sword. "Can I take it?" "As long as you're interested," Qin Shaolu answered. Gu Qingshan tapped her inventory bag and put the sword away. "This is a Huang Quan species, and a rather unique one at that." Gu Qingshan was very satisfied with this. After that, he found a dual-horned gray serpent's claw, a 10-eyed monster's head, as well as a corpse shrouded in a small cloud. Gu Qingshan was very sure that there was no other place better than here to collect monster corpses. The broken sword is a unique Huang Quan species. The dual-horned gray serpent is a chaos species. The 10-eyed monster is an abyss species, and the corpse shrouded in a cloud is an unknown chaos species. Only the universe species is left. There's no universe species in this world, so Gu Qingshan will have to return to reality to find a way to get it. If I wasn't a disciple of Bai Hua sect, I wouldn't be able to complete this quest. Looking at his inventory bag, Gu Qingshan found that all the corpses he picked were of the highest quality. He finally sighed in relief. Since he's already half done with the quest, Gu Qingshan really wanted to know what kind of thaumaturgy he'll get. On the way down the mountain, Gu Qingshan looked at the demon corpses all over the mountain and couldn't help but ask, "Who killed all these?" "Shi Fu." Qin Shaolu shrunk his neck a bit and answered, "Shi Fu doesn't have the time to do that. It's all that goose is doing, and that's Shi Fu." Gu Qingshan silently thought. The two of them went down from the other side of the mountain, arriving at a place not too far away from the large green rock. Around a large green rock, there were several hundred cultivators sitting around. All of them closed their eyes to meditate, a very grand sight. This is a saint's place, so no one dares to cause trouble here. Since no one came out to take charge of the scoreboard challenge, everyone was unwilling to leave, so they could only cultivate here. Qin Shaolu spoke. "All right, I'm going to take over that goose's job and pick the scoreboard challengers. Do you want to wait for me or go back first?" "I'll wait for you," Gu Qingshan answered. "He's been helping me pick stuff for so long, it's a bit embarrassing for me to just leave like that." "All right, if you can't wait, you can return to Baihua Palace first. That goose should be done by now, got it?" As soon as the two of them finished talking, Qin Shaolu swaggered away, landing on top of the large green boulder. He shouted, "All right, Bai Ingtian is busy. For the rest of the day, Qin Shaolu will be picking candidates." Quite a few cultivators stood up and said, "Please give us your question, fellow Dao seeker." That's fine. Let me think about today's question." Qin Shaolu fell into thought. While all the cultivators were nervously gulping, he suddenly slapped his thigh and said, "I got it. Today's question is, how to make me feel good." All the cultivators were stunned. Qin Shaolu was beaming with joy, obviously happy that he came up with a good idea. "Line up one by one. Whoever can make me happy can enter the path over there and try the scoreboard. Strictly speaking, no seduction and no spirit stones," he thought for a bit, then added. As Gu Qingshan silently watched this, he was completely confused. He knows that in history, Qin Shaolu was an unrestrained person, but even in his 2 lives, he's never seen a person who could be this unrestrained. How is it? Can't stand it anymore. We really need a normal human cultivator. A voice came from behind. Gu Qingshan turned around. Sure enough, it was the white goose by Ingtian. Could this be the real reason why the 100 Flowers Fairy took me as her disciple? Gu Qingshan couldn't help but think. "Let's go. Don't look at him fooling around. Your place has already been prepared. I'll show you around," the white goose said. Gu Qingshan clasped his fist. "Thank you, first brother." The white goose nodded and brought Gu Qingshan away. "If possible, please take care of your junior sister," the white goose said. Yes, Gu Qingshan was a bit confused, but since the 100 Flowers Fairy said so, he agreed. Chapter 88. When the saint was still young, her sect was destroyed, and the saint was being hunted by her enemies. Only Xiao Xiao knew the saint's whereabouts. Why does Xiao Xiao know? Gu Qingshan asked. This was a very important question. Because Xiao Xiao was the sect master's daughter. She personally helped the saint escape, the white goose answered. Gu Qingshan was surprised. After she was captured, she never revealed the saint's whereabouts. Even when her 5 senses were taken away, and she was kept in a spirit beast bag, constantly feeling the pain of suffocation, she still didn't say anything. The white goose's eyes flashed with pain. Gu Qingshan praised. "What a good child," the white goose continued. When the saint finally killed her enemies and saved her from the spirit beast bag, it was already 5 years later. Gu Qingshan was shocked. She went through this pain for 5 years straight? A normal person wouldn't be able to endure this kind of pain for even half an hour, but an 8-year-old child silently endured it for so many years. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but feel respect for her. That's right, at the time, both her body and soul were already on the verge of collapse. The white goose lowered his head and continued. The saint spent a lot of effort to heal her bit by bit in order to save her, because the time inside the spirit beast bag was frozen. When she was saved, she still looked like a 7-year-old. No one in the cultivation world has ever experienced such pain before. So she'll probably remain like a 7-year-old until both her body and soul fully recover. Gu Shan went silent for a while, then said, "Don't worry, she's my junior sister. I'll do my best to take care of her." The white goose looked at Gu Shan. Gu Shan firmly nodded. "Then that's good. We don't have any other rules here. Everyone just take care of each other and cultivate. That's Shifu's biggest wish," the white goose said. The 100 Flowers Fairy establishing a sect. Such a simple wish. No other sect would believe it. But after this period of contact, Gu Shan naturally believed it. He suddenly felt a surge of warmth in his heart. The 100 Flowers Fairy's cultivation level is high, but when it comes to managing a sect, she's completely different from the other sections. Gu Shan thought to herself, "How is this a cultivation sect? It looks more like a home. Let's go. Let's go see where you live." The white goose flapped its wings and flew forward. All right, Gu Shan couldn't fly yet, so she followed behind the white goose. The two of them flashed into the 100 Flowers Palace, and they passed through the deep palace walls and courtyards before arriving at a large hall. There were 3 large words above the main hall. Orchid Hall. Gu Shan looked at the 3 large words, then turned to ask the white goose, "Is this where I live?" "Yes," white goose answered. Gu Shan frowned. If this was the name of the place he lived in, wouldn't it be a little too girly? "Can I change my name?" he asked. "You can't. This was written by the saint himself. What are you going to change it for?" The white goose was a bit annoyed. Gu Shan quickly gave up. Then he remembered something and asked, "What's the name of where second brother lives?" The white goose answered, "Jade Flower Palace." Gu Shan immediately felt better. 1 man and 1 goose walked into the hall. As Gu Shan looked around, as far as he could see, the inside of the hall was quite large, about the size of 2 soccer fields. "This is where I live?" Gu Shan asked uncertainly. "There's enough space here to hold a concert." The white goose answered, "That's right, this is where you live. Just for me?" Gu Shan asked. "Just for you," the white goose answered. "Just for me, just for me, just for me, just for me." The voice kept echoing, not stopping for a long time. Gu Shan, the white goose, ahem. The white goose finally felt a bit embarrassed and explained, "When we first built it, the saint wanted to make it a bit bigger so that from the outside, it would make people feel a sense of respect." "It really does make people feel a sense of respect," Gu Shan said with difficulty. "Go rest. We'll have dinner together tonight as fellow disciples to welcome you into the sect." After saying so, the white goose flew away without looking back. Gu Shan stood at the door for a while, stunned, before entering Orchid Hall. He walked around the entire hall once. After walking around, his body was heating up. His back was also covered in a thin layer of sweat. His body was already moving around. Orchid Hall, whatever. At least it's big enough. Gu Shan tried to convince himself. In a corner of the hall, there was a neat stack of cultivation supplies. Gu Shan picked up a bottle of pills, opened it, and took a sniff. Abundant spirit energy flowed into his nose, as if all 30,000 pores on his body were opened. What a good pill. Gu Shan praised it, then went on to look at other things. "I really have to say Baihua's sect's welfare is really good. Everything they use is top-notch. Every single one of them is top-notch. It can be seen that 100 Flowers Fairy is very attentive to her disciples." Gu Shan thought for a bit, then took out a spirit silk cushion, found a random spot in the empty hall, and sat down. Gu Shan closed his eyes and began to rest. Nightfall. Jade Flower Palace. 2 men, a woman, and a goose were sitting together. The table was filled to the brim with steaming hot, sumptuous dishes. Qin Shaolu pridefully said, "Eat as much as you want. These are all this young master's best dishes. Watch your tongues." Seeing the white goose's glare, he reluctantly said, "All right, let's have a chat first." "First brother," the white goose cleared his throat, then spoke with a serious tone. "Welcome Qin Shan and Xiao to our sect. I hope that we can all get along like brothers and sisters from now on." Xiao softly asked, "Shifu isn't coming?" The white goose answered, Shifu is a saint. She's usually too busy. We can do this kind of activity ourselves. You're already here. Gu Qingshan rolled her eyes on the side. Xiao was a bit disappointed. Qin Shaolu glanced at her, then said, Junior sister Xiao, from tomorrow onwards, Shifu will be teaching you how to cultivate every day. Tonight will be the only time you'll be able to escape from her evil clutches. He picked up a chicken leg and put it in Xiao's bowl, saying, Here, I've stewed this chicken leg for a long time. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Xiao's nose twitched, then showed a happy expression. Then I won't be polite. The white goose jumped up, standing on Qin Shaolu's shoulder, using his wings to fan his head, while shouting in dissatisfaction. Evil clutches? What do you mean, evil clutches? Tell me about it. How can you talk about Shifu like that? First, brother, please spare me. I've prepared a lot of alcohol for you. Qin Shaolu begged. Then why don't you bring them out? Hearing that, the white goose flew back to his seat. Qin Shaolu begrudgingly tidied up his hair, tapped his inventory bag, and took out a dozen bottles of alcohol on the table. Qin Shan, come, have a taste of the alcohol I've brewed, he called out, but didn't look at the white goose. All right, seeing so much liquor, Gu Qingshan was also tempted to try it out. Xiao glanced at it a bit, then looked down to continue eating the chicken leg. The white goose scoffed, then took out a bottle of alcohol for himself. A toast to first brother. Gu Qingshan raised her cup. The white goose happily raised his cup. Not bad. We'll drink it all. Chapter 89. After a few rounds, the atmosphere became lively again. Gu Qingshan suddenly took out a few glasses and said, I've tried all of these, a few of them. I think we can do this. His hands moved quickly, mixing several kinds of wine together and pouring 3 cups. Gu Qingshan took one for himself and took a sip. I'm still missing 1 inch, saying so. He found another type of liquor, poured it in, and lightly shook it. Gu Qingshan took another sip, then nodded and mixed the other 2 glasses. Try it, he gestured. Qin Shaolu opened his eyes wide, waiting for Gu Qingshan to finish, then slammed the table. Junior brother, if you mix all these liquors together, won't the taste be messed up? Sometimes it's messed up, sometimes it's better. Gu Qingshan nodded and smiled. Try it. Qin Shaolu looked at the glass, hesitantly asking, Junior brother, you used to... I also used to make liquor, Gu Qingshan said. Qin Shaolu finally gathered his courage and took a sip. After that, he didn't say anything else and drank it all in 1 gulp. Junior brother, so you're a kindred spirit. Qin Shaolu looked at Gu Qingshan. His eyes became a bit warmer. He reached for another glass. You're asking for it. White Goose reached out his wing and slapped his hand away. This one is mine. White Goose opened his beak and sucked the entire glass in. It feels good. One more. He smacked his beak and said, Me too. Qin Shaolu hurriedly said. Gu Qingshan mixed it again. The 3 of them raised their glasses, clinked them, and drank it all in 1 gulp. Again, White Goose said, There are other ways to mix it. Wait a minute. Gu Qingshan smiled. A new round of mixing began. White Goose and Qin Shaolu watched with great interest. Xiao, who was munching on a chicken leg, also looked up. Half an hour later, Qin Shaolu's eyes are hazy from drinking too much, hugging Gu Qingshan's shoulder, and loudly said, Junior brother, I'm telling you, these past few years, Shifu has done a lot of bad things. The only thing she hasn't done wrong is taking you. And hearing that, the white goose squinted his eyes and calmly took a sip from his glass. Gu Qingshan silently felt sorry for Qin Shaolu in her mind. I have a spell for you as a greeting gift, saying so. Qin Shaolu took out a jade tag and gave it to Gu Qingshan. As soon as Gu Qingshan took it, a line of text appeared on the War God UI. Discovered Spirit Energy Nurturing Technique. Consume 1 soul points to learn. Gu Qingshan's eyes were sharp enough to see White Goose jumping up and running towards the jade tag, so she chose to learn it. Learn. 1 soul points consumed. Spirit Energy Nurturing Technique has been learned. Current soul points, 650 to 7. A second later, the jade tag was slammed on the table by White Goose. You're not allowed to see. White Goose flapped his wings and put the jade tag away. Qin Shaolu glared at him, saying, "This is only a method to train spirit energy. Why can't he see it?" White Goose coldly laughed, saying, "Train spirit energy. Are you sure?" He glared at Qin Shaolu and didn't say anything else. Qin Shaolu felt a bit guilty and didn't say anything else. Gu Qin Shan didn't say anything else either, only silently comprehending the technique. He felt very strange. Qin Shaolu wasn't wrong. This is only a method to release spirit energy into someone else's body to help them dispel their distracting thoughts and nurture their body and mind. This technique is very simple, but it's so creative that normal people wouldn't even think of it. Skipping this part, everyone went back to drinking. While everyone was enjoying themselves, a timid voice suddenly asked, "Can I drink this?" Xiaoxiao's eyes flashed with curiosity and hope, saying, "I also want to have a toast with senior brothers." Gu Qin Shan and Qin Shaolu looked at White Goose. "Eldest brother?" Qin Shaolu asked. White Goose shook his head, then sent his voice to the two of them. "She can't drink it. Her soul vessel hasn't fully healed yet. Her body is still recovering. If she drinks it, she won't be able to take it." Sing eldest brother shake his head. Xiaoxiao lowered her head dejectedly. The two people and one goose exchanged glances, both feeling a bit troubled. Gu Qin Shan thought for a bit, then smiled. "Xiaoxiao, I have something here that you can drink." He picked up a few spirit fruits from the table, threw them all into the air, and shouted, "Secret arts!" White Goose and Qin Shaolu's expressions turned serious, releasing their inner sight to observe Gu Qin Shan's actions, only to see Gu Qin Shan forming a hand seal, and said, "Juice!" Spirit energy flowed out from her body, squeezing the fruits into a crumpled ball. The juice spilled out, gathered in the air by the spirit energy, then fell into an empty cup on the table. A cup of freshly squeezed juice was ready. This was a basic daily skill for players after the great development of spirit energy in the past life. Mixed juice. Gu Qin Shan put the cup in front of Xiao. "I remember that these fruits taste quite good when put together. Give it a try." Su's eyes lit up. She reached out with her two small hands and took a sip from the cup. The cup was still held there. The sound of bubbling could be heard from behind it. Xiao finished the juice in one gulp, put the cup down, and shouted, "Third brother, I want more." Gu Qin Shan smiled and said, "I'll teach you the method. You could try mixing it yourself." On the other side, White Goose and Qin Shaolu had already made a cup of juice each. This was the simplest of spells. They could understand it as soon as they saw it. But in this world, there was only the concept of eating fruits. There was no such thing as drinking juice. Su quickly learned, mixing a glass of fruit juice for herself and clinking it with the White Goose. "Here's to first brother's endless power." She then clinked it with Qin Shaolu. "Here's to second brother becoming more reliable." "Oi, I don't like hearing that." Qin Shaolu was annoyed. White Goose looked at the excited Xiao, then nodded to Gu Qin Shan with a smile in his eyes. Xiao raised her cup again, sweetly saying, "Third brother, thank you for teaching me such a great spell. You're always welcome to visit my Jasper Flower Palace." "Sure." Gu Qin Shan smiled and clinked her cup with Xiao's. At this moment, Gu Qin Shan felt especially good. Both the host and the guest enjoyed themselves during the meal. Qin Shaolu learned how to make cocktails and ended up getting drunk. His cultivation isn't that high, so after drinking a lot of spirit wine, he couldn't get rid of the smell of alcohol and fell asleep on the table. Gu Qin Shan couldn't help but throw him back on the bed, letting him continue to sleep. White Goose brought Xiao, who was also asleep, away, telling him before he left, "Third brother, rest well tonight. I'll take you to cultivate tomorrow." "Thank you, first brother," Gu Qin Shan said. He didn't ask why Shifu didn't take him to cultivate, nor did he ask what he was going to cultivate. This made the White Goose feel satisfied. "Shifu took you," and White Goose burped. "It's the right person." White Goose brought Xiao away. Gu Qin Shan smiled, then slowly walked back to his orchid hall, thinking about what happened today. After this meal, it seems I've successfully assimilated into Baihua sect. Returning to Orchid Hall, he sat on the cushion for a while, waiting for the game hourglass to run out of sand. Chapter 90. In a dark alleyway, Gu Shan's figure silently appeared. It's only been an hour. It's already midnight. The night breeze blew in from the other side of the street, refreshing and refreshing. Gu Shan looked left and right, but there wasn't a single person around. This alleyway was secluded to begin with, and since it's already midnight, there's naturally no one around. He just stood still and opened the War God UI. Looking at the wheel on the War God UI, he took out a few items and put them into the 4 holes according to their categories. Ting, 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 ting. With 4 clear chimes, the holes carved with complicated patterns and patterns started to spin, then slowly turned into 4 balls of light. The remaining pit was still empty, without any changes. Inside the hole was a picture of a galaxy, one of which was wrapped in a giant monster's body. There's only space type left, Gu Shan muses. This type of monster doesn't exist in the cultivation world, so he has to find it in reality. The interstellar warp technology allowed humanity to discover the truth of space. After a fierce battle, humanity found it very hard to win against these giant monsters of all shapes and sizes. And from the looks of it, this kind of battle doesn't have any benefits, nor does it have any meaning. The only thing they found were the corpses of space monsters. With the current level of technology, the progress of researching these monsters is extremely slow. After numerous discussions, humanity temporarily closed the space routes to other galaxies. Gu Shan glanced at the War God UI. There's still enough time, but he needs to hurry. Although the thaumaturgy will be extracted as soon as the time is up, Gu Shan naturally wants to do it perfectly to obtain a powerful thaumaturgy. Space monster corpses aren't easy to obtain. How should he handle such a thing? Gu Shan suddenly thought of a certain person. He turned on his phone, found a contact person, and asked to connect. A few moments later, the other side connected. I'm surprised that you'd contact me of your own accord, Jang Young-ho's calm voice came from. There are a few things that I feel like it would be more convenient to contact you, Gu Shan said. Very good. This means that you and I are no longer acquaintances. Jang Young-ho said. If you're not busy, come here. Gu Shan sent her location to the other party. Because it's best to talk about this in person. I'll be right there. Jang Young-ho hung up. Gu Shan only waited for 10 minutes. Jang Young-ho appeared on the other side of the alley. He was wearing a black windbreaker and a black fingerless glove. Jang Young-ho opened his arms wide as he walked, smiling. How miraculous. Even now, the Lords still haven't received the results of your research. Aren't you afraid that I'll die in the next second? Gu Shan laughed. Something happened to the Su family. Elder Su is furious. My uncle is now standing on the Su family side. With the addition of the Lee residence, which has always been on good terms with the Su family, the situation is changing. Jang Young-ho said briefly. He clapped his hands and said, All right. Why did you call me out? Gu Shan replied. I need space monster corpses. Jang Young-ho didn't ask why, only looked at him and said, So you thought of me? Gu Shan replied. Of course you wouldn't be able to get them through normal means. You're an aristocrat, as well as someone from the underworld, so, I understand, Jang Young-ho said. Then, what do I get in return for helping you with this? Gu Shan replied. I'll give you 2 options, pick one. What do you think? I'm an expert in multiple choice questions. Please continue, Jang Young-ho said. Option 1. I can promise you one thing. For example, I can give you a certain research result, or I can help you deal with other assassin groups in the future. Option 2. Option 2. From now on, I can form a cooperative alliance with your organization, Gu Shan replied. Hearing that, Jang Young-ho silently nodded and fell into thought. Having seen how Gu Shan killed Jackal, as well as the Blazing Angel, he definitely wouldn't underestimate her anymore. Jang Young-ho took out a cigarette, lit it, took a drag, and made an important decision. This decision seemed a bit arbitrary, but what happened later proved that it was the wisest decision he had ever made in his life. Jang Young-ho put the cigarette in his mouth and reached out his hand to Gu Shan. Let's work together happily, he said. Let's work together happily. Gu Shan also reached out her hand. The 2 of them shook hands. Then, let's begin, Jang Young-ho quickly said. Since my partner needs it, He crouched down and knocked on the ground. I'll do my best. As he knocked on the ground, a hole about the size of a millstone appeared on the ground. Jang Young-ho put one hand on the ground, reached out his other hand to grab something from the hole. God's chosen skill. Gu Qing-shan was curious. That's right, the first time I crouched down to pick up a toy, I ended up picking up a rooster. Saying so, Jang Young-ho suddenly pulled his hand out of the hole. He grabbed a black rooster by the neck and pulled it out of the hole. The rooster looked at Jang Young-ho, then at Gu Qing-shan, opened its beak to crow. Fuck, I'm not looking for you, Jang Young-ho said as he stuffed the rooster back into the hole. He started to search again. Suddenly, he jumped up and bowed 90 degrees. Hello, boss. I didn't think I'd disturb you. I'm very sorry. Inside the hole, a vertical pupil looked out from inside. This vertical pupil has a hole on top. From the looks of it, it's a bit bigger than the hole. Hearing Jang Young-ho's words, the vertical pupil walked away from the hole. Jang Young-ho took out a handkerchief, wiped the sweat off his forehead, and said, "Let's continue." He crouched down again, thought for a bit, then started to meow like a cat. "Baby, where are you?" Meow. A second later, Jang Young-ho picked up a black cat from the hole. "Baby, hello." Jang Young-ho's tone became gentle. Meow. The black cat meowed softly. "What do you want, HM? What kind of corpse?" Jang Young-ho looked up and asked. "Space monster's corpse," Gu Qing-shan quickly answered. "Did you hear that?" Jang Young-ho looked at the black cat with a serious expression. "We want space monster's corpse." Meow, meow, meow. The black cat gestured with its paws, shaking its head left and right. Gu Qing-shan asked, "What, it can't do either?" "No, it wants to eat egg yo pie first." Jang Young-ho stood up. "We need to find a supermarket. Then let's go." Gu Qing-shan nodded. God's chosen skills are always like that, strange and strange. There are even some skills that people can't even figure out what to do after looking at them for a long time. A hitman group's boss, a person who went back in time, brought a black cat, bought a bunch of egg yo pies from a supermarket, then went to the street corner to feed the cat. Only a God's chosen skill can cause such a scene. The black cat was finally full. It circled around Jang Young-ho once, then ran away into the night. Where did it go? Gu Qing-shan asked. Jang Young-ho answered, "It's looking for what you want. Let's follow it." Chapter 91. Half an hour later, Gu Qing-shan and Jang Young-ho were standing opposite a building. "I say," Gu Qing-shan pointed at the building and said, "I can also find this place." Opposite them was a towering technology building with a sign hanging on the door. The Department of Science and Technology of the Federation. The Science and Technology Department of the Federation was one of the most heavily guarded places in the Federation. Many of the latest and most cutting-edge technological projects were experimented and preserved here. 20 revered martial artists were guarding this place. A surveillance satellite hovered just outside the atmosphere. 2 mecha teams patrolled the area 24/7. 6 starry sky battleships were patrolling back and forth in the nearby sky. Impartial Goddess is constantly paying attention to this place. Jang Young-ho raised his head to look at the patrolling battleship flying past in the sky and said, "Yeah, there's definitely a space monster's corpse here. Black Cat is definitely there. The price to enter this place is too high," Gu Qing-shan said. "That's true." Jang Young-ho squatted down and said softly, "Baby, this place won't do. Let's go somewhere else." Hearing this, the black cat looked at the two of them, then looked at the Federation's Department of Science and Technology and meowed in disdain. "Two cowards, they can't even get in." The black cat turned around and ran in the other direction. "Let's go." "All right." The two of them followed behind. An hour later, casino. In a bustling casino, Jang Young-ho walked in curiously and looked around. "What's wrong?" Gu Qing-shan asked. "They can even get their hands on space monsters now." Jang Young-ho still found it unbelievable. "You know this place?" "I know, but I'm not too familiar with it. This used to be a place for exchanging information. Looks like they've opened a new business." As they spoke, the black cat jumped onto the ground and disappeared. "The skills time is up. It should be here." Jang Young-ho asked again, "Do you have merit points?" "If you want to enter the core area, you have to use merit points to exchange for chips." "I don't have much else. but I have enough merit points. Speaking of merit points, Gu Shan suddenly felt confident. He had just used his merit points to exchange for a large sum of chips when an attendant immediately came over and respectfully led the two of them to the elevator. There were a total of 20 elevators in the lobby, and each elevator could only allow one group of customers to enter at a time. The attendant closed the elevator door and asked, "What would you like to play?" "We." Jang Young-ho glanced at Gu Shan. "The more special, the better." Gu Shan smiled at the servant. The waiter squinted and stared at the two people's chip boxes. In the chip box, the largest amount of red chips was piled up. The attendant smiled and said, "Esteemed guests, you won't be disappointed." He pressed a button under the elevator. Floor -70. The elevator went down quickly and only slowed down after a while. Ding! The doorbell rang. The door opened. It was a vast lake. An underground lake? Jang Young-ho asked. The two of them came out of the elevator, were led by the attendant to a high platform on the shore of the underground lake. Quite a few of the platforms along the shore were already occupied. These platforms were clearly reinforced, and there were even weapon systems installed on the side of the lake below. The attendant took out his communicator to check, then turned to the two of them. "The previous round had ended a while ago. The next one is about to begin. Please wait a moment." Exquisite desserts and expensive liquor were served. The two of them weren't in the mood to eat or drink, so they silently waited for a while before the attendant spoke. "It's begun." A figure was flying towards the center of the underground lake. The lake was so vast that the figure was already about to fall when he was halfway there. Who would have thought that he would suddenly stop in midair, burst out with force again, and continue to fly forward? Gu Shan and Jang Young-ho exchanged glances. Borrowing power from the void of space, this was the realm of martial eminence. For a martial grandmaster to reach this realm, strength, talent, and luck are all necessary. Martial eminence landed on the wooden raft in the middle of the lake and put down the thing on his shoulder. It was a man who was unconscious. Martial eminence put a hand on the man's body, then flew out of the underground lake. The man began to move unconsciously. He was slowly waking up. At this point, the attendant spoke. "You two can place your bets now." "How do we play?" Jang Young-ho asked. The attendant answered, "The countdown starts from 0. Bet on how long he can live. The limit is 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the person who bet on him surviving wins. There are a total of 3 rounds today. The person who wins the most will receive today's lucky prize." "What's the lucky prize?" Jang Young-ho asked. "It's different every day. Today it's a part of a space monster's corpse or a strange person. Choose one of the 2-inch," the attendant answered. The two of them exchanged glances. Gu Shan spoke in a low voice. "Your God's chosen skill is quite impressive," Jang Young-ho shrugged. "That's what I rely on to make a living." Gu Shan looked at the lake, then suddenly asked, "What's under the lake?" Inside the lake, a 10-meter-long shadow was faintly discernible. A prehistoric giant beast restored through genetic modification. "It's been starving for 2 days now," the attendant smiled and answered. At this time, on a high platform to the right of Gu Shan and Jang Young-ho, a middle-aged man stood up with a smile and threw out a wine glass filled with red liquid. His strength was quite good as the glass landed right in the middle of the lake. The red liquid spilled out, spreading on the surface of the lake. The black shadow under the lake swam even faster. Jang Young-ho's nose twitched, muttering, "It's blood. Is there no problem with him doing this?" Gu Shan asked the attendant. "He can't kill the person in the middle of the lake. Other than that, he can play however he wants," the attendant smiled and answered. On the high platform on the right, the middle-aged man was bragging to his companion. "Look, this big guy is quite impressive. Last time he managed to bite someone in half with just one bite." The woman sitting in front of him lightly covered her mouth, yawned, and spoke in a bored tone. "Is that so? How scary." The woman casually turned her head, glanced at the high platform next to her, and saw Gu Shan and Jang Young-ho. These two are quite good-looking. She was a bit surprised, then turned her body a bit to look at the two of them. The woman's eyes lit up. Jang Young-ho is a handsome man, With years of good education and pampered life, he naturally exudes the air of an aristocrat. Gu Shan is a bit younger, with a clear face, sitting there like a gentleman. She looks very clean, but also carries an indescribable aura. As soon as you look at her, you'll feel an indescribable sense of comfort. As the woman looked at them, her eyes lingered on the two of them. How could such a stare not attract their attention? Jang Young-ho is fine. After all these years of being a playboy, he's been stared at by women too many times, so he ignored the woman after a quick glance. But Gu Shan isn't as good as him. Her spirit sense can sense someone staring at her, so she quickly turned to look at the high platform on the right. Who is it? What does he want? He immediately saw the woman. Being stared at by him, the woman couldn't help but tense up, subconsciously not daring to move at all. In a trance, her entire mind went blank. Chapter 92. Suddenly, the feeling of palpitation disappeared. The woman felt her soul returning to her body. The young man looked at her with an apologetic gaze, smiled, and lightly nodded. His smile was like a stream of warm spring water in the spring breeze. It actually flowed into one's heart. Immediately, one's entire body relaxed, and the ice-cold body gradually became warm. The woman held her chest and calmed down for a while. This feeling left a deep impression on her. From so far away, can a man really be this good? She suddenly took out a business card. Please do me a favor. She waved her hand at the waiter. On the other side, see, I told you to relax a bit. That killing intent of yours. TSK. You scared someone this time, didn't you? Jang Young-ho shrugged. Sorry, I'm not used to being spied on. Gu Shan put away the hand seal that Qin Shaolu taught her and said, just now, when he released a bit of his killing intent, he found out that the other party was only a female guest. A mature and elegant 27 to 28-year-old woman. Her face was pale. Her breathing was hurried. Clearly, he scared her. Using his inner sight to scan, he found that the other party was shaking uncontrollably, almost paralyzed in her chair. Gu Shan was a bit apologetic, so she quickly formed a hand seal and used a long-range spirit energy nurturing technique to calm her down. This is a body nurturing technique. It's an apology and compensation. That's right, I've been too tense for too long, always ready to fight. That's not good. It's easy to hurt innocent people. While Gu Shan was reflecting on herself, the waiter on the other side of the platform came over with a tray. Sir, that lady is here to give you some wine. Here's her business card. The waiter put a glass of wine and a business card on the table, then politely retreated. Jang Young-ho whistled and said, a glass of Godfather, a card that leads to the deepest part of her heart. Seems like she thinks you're a real man. That's a bit of a trick, but it's quite effective. I'll have to lure it later, Jang Young-ho muttered in a low voice. It's just a misunderstanding. Gu Shan looked at the business card. Fuxi Empire, Zhan Dao Weapons Group, Du Guangxiong for thousands of years. The Fuxi Empire has always maintained the ancient customs. Even their names are the same two-character surnames from the age of old, never once changed by the changes of the times. This was an ancient and conservative country. Gu Shan raised her wine cup, greeting the woman named Du Guangxiong. Du Guangxiong smiled and raised her cup in return. When the middle-aged man next to her saw this scene, his face immediately fell. The middle-aged man gulped down a mouthful of wine, pointed to the center of the lake, and shouted, Look, that person has woken up. It's time for us to show our skills. Waiter, come here, he called. Sir, I bet 10,000 merit points that this person will be eaten within 10 seconds. Okay, I've recorded it. The middle-aged man looked at them with a provocative look on his face. Gu Shan and Jang Young-ho ignored him. At this moment, someone laughed wildly and threw a badly mangled animal carcass into the air. The black shadow under the lake swam quickly and bit the corpse tightly. In just a few moments, the carcass was completely devoured. The black shadow became more active and quickly swam under the water. Gentlemen, what do you think? The waiter asked. Jang Young-ho shrugged, looked at Gu Shan and hesitantly asked, 20 seconds? No. Gu Shan smiled and pushed the box of chips forward. All in, Bet that he'll survive, sir, are you sure? That's not a small bet. The waiter looked at Gu Qingshan in surprise and confirmed. I'm sure, Gu Qingshan answered. The waiter silently nodded, recorded everything, and put the box away. Are you crazy? Zhang Youngho whispered. That person won't survive, Gu Qingshan also whispered. That way, the odds will be the highest. Don't forget, the one who wins the most gets the grand prize. But it's too hard for him to survive, Zhang Youngho muttered. Clang, clang, clang. The bell rang. As if this was a stimulus, the black shadow under the lake became a lot more agile. Its speed and reflexes became even faster. Wherever it flew, the water of the lake formed a half-meter-high wave and split apart. What explosive power! An announcement was made from the top of the lake. Countdown begins. The people on the various platforms by the lake all stood up. Go eat that bastard! The middle-aged man on the right waved his arms and shouted. The black shadow under the lake seemed to understand him and swam straight towards the center of the lake. Eat him! Eat him! Eat him! Everyone shouted in excitement. Meanwhile, on the raft, the man had already broken down, howling and crying bitterly. The black shadow was getting closer, getting closer. Just one more step, and it would be able to reach the delicious food on the raft. Quite a few people looked at the timer on the table. 11 seconds. 12 seconds. 13 seconds. At the edge of the raft, the black shadow suddenly rose up from under the water. 14 seconds. The monster's true appearance was revealed. It was a giant crocodile with an armored purple skin. This was a prehistoric species, powerful and cruel, already extinct over 2,000 years ago. But with the advancement of technology, it was once again bred through genetic modification. The crocodile leaned against the edge of the raft, staring straight at the man with a mocking and cruel look in its eyes. It lightly opened and closed its jaws, slowly biting the man's leg. The man was so scared that he tried to crawl backwards, but the raft was only so small, there was nowhere for him to run. The prehistoric crocodile sank back into the water and slowly swam around the raft. That's right, it was toying with its prey. 25 seconds. More and more people were sighing, obviously losing the gamble. Suddenly, the man on the raft screamed in pain. As everyone looked back, they saw a short spear stabbed through the man's leg. The man was nailed to the raft by the spear. He tried to move, but couldn't. His leg was bleeding profusely, quickly flowing into the lake from the raft. The giant black shadow in the lake swam even faster, obviously stimulated by the smell of blood. On the platform, a bulky man laughed in a frenzy. He won't be able to get away now. Let's eat him. I want to win some money. Obviously, he was the one who threw the spear. Gu Qingshan turned to the servant and asked, Is that allowed? Yes, as long as they don't kill the prey. Anyone who places a bet can interfere with the prey. This is also part of the fun, the servant nodded. In the lake, the prehistoric crocodile finally couldn't hold it in anymore and jumped onto the raft. Its heavy weight caused the entire raft to tilt. 38 seconds. Someone shouted loudly. The prehistoric crocodile slowly opened its bloody jaws, trying to bite the man. This bite was 3 times faster than when it was toying with its prey before. The man screamed in despair. 39 seconds. A bow suddenly appeared in Gu Qingshan's hand, drawing the arrow, knocking the bow, pulling the bowstring all at once. Skill activated. Boom! A sudden burst of energy caused the prehistoric crocodile to flip in the air. The crocodile was sent flying and fell into the lake with a splash. The clock ticked. 40 seconds. The prehistoric crocodile sank to the bottom, then slowly floated back up. There was an arrow in its head, and the arrow just happened to pass through its eye. Around the arrow, the flesh and blood were all broken. It was dead. The audience was silent. Gu Qingshan glanced at the stunned servant, then turned to Zhang Youngho. He said, I think I missed that person. Chapter 93. Du Guangqiong's eyes glowed. The middle-aged man next to her shrunk back a bit. Everyone on the platform looked over, noticing the bow in Gu Qingshan's hand. Facing such a terrifying bow, Everyone on the platform wisely didn't question her face to face, only walking towards their own attendants to ask about the situation. Jang Young-ho raised both hands, celebrating in advance. The grand prize is ours. He looked at Gu Qing-shan, then at the mutated crocodile's body in the lake, saying, "It's such a shame that you didn't join my organization. There's no need to feel sorry. We're partners," Gu Qing-shan replied. The attendant hurriedly walked up and said, "Sir, what you're doing is against the rules. Didn't you say that the only rule is not to kill him?" Gu Qing-shan asked. The attendant was speechless. "That's true, but the gamblers here have always been thinking of ways to attract mutated beasts to eat people. No one has ever done this before, turning to attack mutated beasts. Is this against the rules or not? I'll have to ask for instructions." Saying so, the attendant quickly took out his communicator. A few minutes later, the attendant turned it off. He said, "Gentlemen, you may leave now. We will return your chips to you untouched." "This match doesn't count," Gu Qing-shan asked. "What if we don't want to leave and want to continue?" The attendant appeared troubled, looking at Jang Young-ho, then at Gu Qing-shan, and made his decision. Anyone who can work as an attendant here must have sharp eyes. "Do you really want to continue?" "I do." The attendant had no choice but to call again. A few moments later, he replied, "If you can personally go on stage once and survive for 3 minutes, then you'll be paid the full amount of your winnings according to the rules. Asking a guest to go on stage themselves, that's a bit too much." Seems like the boss of the casino isn't too happy with Gu Qing-shan's actions. "Do you know what I'm going to say about this?" Jang Young-ho stood up and coldly smirked. He's the eldest young master of the Nine Lords, so he's never prepared to be mistreated like this. Gu Qing-shan stopped him. "Don't make a fuss. I'll handle it. I can play." Gu Qing-shan turned to the waiter and said, "In addition, you can have all the chips. I'm only interested in the lucky prize." "Are you serious?" The waiter was surprised and looked up at Gu Qing-shan. "Yeah, harmony breeds wealth. We each take what we need," Gu Qing-shan said with a smile. The item was in the other party's hands, so he couldn't afford to cause any trouble at this time. Otherwise, if the other party destroyed the item, it would be very difficult for him to complete his mission perfectly. The waiter took a deep look at the young man. How was this a youth? He was simply a shrewd person. The casino chased after profits. If this person cut off the casino's source of income, the boss would be the first to punish him. And now he had stated his demand. He did not care about the astonishing amount of chips. He only wanted one of the 2 special items. This kind of behavior that did not care about money was not only rare, but also made people not dare to look down on it. Moreover, his suggestion was also in line with the casino's interests. The waiter picked up his communicator and reported the situation. A reply came from the communicator. The waiter listened for a bit, then nodded and looked at Gu Qing-shan. "The boss is very pleased with your generosity. He has agreed to your suggestion. A wise choice. Can we begin now? I'm a bit short on time." Gu Qing-shan stood up and said, "Very well, I'll ask." The waiter excitedly reported the situation to the communicator. After a while, he finally turned off the communicator and politely bowed to Gu Qing-shan. "Sir, we'll arrange it now. Please go down to the lake first." At the same time, the broadcast system started to speak again. "Today, a brave warrior has killed the evil dragon, causing us to lose a lot of chips. Let us see if he's a true brave warrior or a fake one." A small boat came and stopped below the platform where Gu Qing-shan was. Jang Young-ho wanted to say something. "It's fine. When you need someone's help, you should be polite. Don't make them hate you." Gu Qing-shan patted him on the shoulder and jumped down. The small boat carried Gu Qing-shan towards the center of the lake. The spectators were whistling, clapping, and cheering. "What an idiot. The show is about to begin. An even more exciting bet. What a nice one. How will he die?" Jang Young-ho looked at Gu Qing-shan leaving, muttering in confusion. "The space monster's body, we've never been able to find any use for it. Why does he want it so badly?" A voice came from the broadcast system. "Next, everyone, please place your bets. I need to make it clear, this time, we've prepared 3 giant crocodiles." On the other side, Du Guangxiong suddenly sat up straight, thought for a bit, then stood up, walked to the edge of the platform and looked towards the center of the lake. Only to see the small boat breaking through the waves, the young man was standing at the bow with a calm expression. On the platform, the spectators cheered. "That's great. I'll bet 300,000 chips. He won't last more than 20 seconds. 20 seconds? Ahaha, I'll bet 15 seconds. As they got closer to the center of the lake, Gu Shan jumped up and landed on the small wooden raft. As soon as he stood on it, the broadcast system started. This time, it was a very persuasive voice. "The cruel show is about to begin. This is everyone's bet. How many seconds do you think he'll last?" The voice suddenly became louder. "Friends, place your bets." On the various platforms, everyone's emotions were completely ignited, quickly reporting their bets to the attendants. Jang Young-ho sat there blankly for a bit, then called the attendant. "Sir, I want to exchange some chips." He took out his hollow brain and transferred a large amount of merit. After confirming, the attendant went to collect the chips. At this time, a female voice came from behind Jang Young-ho. "Sir," Jang Young-ho stood up, turned around, and spoke. "Hello, beautiful lady. How may I be of service?" Your companion, Du Guangxiong, pointed at the center of the lake. "Aren't you worried?" Jang Young-ho evaluated the other party. This woman was tall. Her almond-shaped eyes were gentle and spirited. Her body was curvy. Her demeanor was elegant. A woman with these three qualities, according to his standards, could be considered high class among women. Unfortunately, this girl is a bit of a masochist. Forced by his killing intent, she fell in love with that humanoid monster. Jang Young-ho silently sighed and said, "I'm not worried about him at all. He's an excellent hunter. You don't have to worry about him." Du Guangxiong thought for a bit, then said, "If you don't mind, I'd like to watch this with you." Jang Young-ho looked at the platform next to him. Du Guangxiong turned around, saying, "It's fine, don't mind him, he's my subordinate." Seeing her turn around, the middle-aged man hurriedly showed an ugly smile. Jang Young-ho said, "Please have a seat." At this time, the waiter came back with a box full of chips. "Sir, here are your chips," the waiter said. "Help me place a bet." "That he's alive," Jang Young-ho casually said. "How much?" "All of them, ah." Yes, the waiter was a bit surprised, then took out his hollow brain to record. Du Guangxiong glanced over the chips and immediately knew how much they were worth. This box of chips, if converted to Federation credits, is worth about 200 million. Jang Young-ho noticed her gaze, smiled, and said, "I won't lie to you. A fortune is right in front of you. You can place a bet with me. If you win, it's yours. If you lose, it's on me," Du Guangxiong replied. "No need." Jang Young-ho failed to flirt with her. Curious, why not? Du Guangxiong elegantly smiled, answering, "Making money is something that can never be done. I'm only here today to pass the time." Jang Young-ho went silent for a bit, then tried asking, "If you don't mind me asking, what's your name?" "I'm Du Guangxiong." Du Guangxiong. Jang Young-ho breathed in, silently regretting his decision. Chapter 95. What Jang Young-ho doesn't know is that Gu Shan used her killing intent to disturb the other party. Feeling apologetic, but afraid that something might happen to her, he hurriedly used his spirit energy to nourish this woman's soul vessel and meridians. But what Gu Shan doesn't know is that this is Qin Xiaolu's special skill when it comes to seducing female cultivators, specifically to make a good first impression. This technique is silent, but because it's beneficial to the body, it won't be blocked by protective treasures, so it's able to benefit the female cultivator's body and mind, giving them a good first impression. Seeing the handsome Qin Xiaolu standing next to the female cultivator feels like she's in a warm spring, feeling refreshed, and her mood brightens up. Under normal circumstances, the female cultivator's first reaction would be, "Bastard, who used a soul vessel spell on this lady?" But after checking her protective treasure, she didn't find anything amiss. Seeing that she wasn't attacked, the female cultivator sighed in relief, then looked at the gentle and polite handsome young man. What's going on with me? Why do I have this kind of reaction in front of him?" At this time, Qin Xiaolu would ask with a bright expression, "Big sister, little sister, Can you tell me your name? No matter what, a female cultivator who's in a good mood wouldn't refuse to chat with him. Just like that, a spell meant to nourish the soul vessel and blood was turned into an evil spell by Qin Shaolu. That's why the white goose didn't allow him to teach it to Gu Qin, afraid that he'd lead Gu Qin astray. Qin Shaolu felt that this spell was already perfect, but he didn't think that Gu Qin would be so creative with it that she brought it to greater heights. In a very short period of time, Du Guangxiong was frightened by Gu Qinshan's killing intent, then used a spell to nourish herself, causing her body and mind to go from one extreme to the other, rising and falling so high that even the strongest guard in the heart would have a small crack. This was a complete coincidence. Gu Qinshan herself didn't realize it at all. Zhang Yongho did not know the root of the problem, so his thinking was a little off. Skipping this part, Zhang Yongho introduced himself. It's an honor to meet you, beautiful Miss Dugu. I am Zhang Yongho. Nice to meet you. What about him? May I know his name? Du Guangxiong's bright eyes looked at the boat in the middle of the lake, and then at Gu Qinshan. Zhang Yongho sighed, knowing that he had no chance. Him? He is my partner, Gu Qinshan, said Zhang Yongho. Du Guqiong rested her chin on her hands and asked with interest, What kind of business do you do? To kill. Zhang Yongho said deliberately. Du Guqiong said thoughtfully, No wonder he was so scary just now. Didn't you guys win just now? She asked. Zhang Yongho crossed his legs and said, The casino doesn't want to admit it, probably because they have a martial eminence to back them up, so he went down? Du Guqiong asked. Zhang Yongho said, This guy's a bit inflexible, but I also think that compared to a martial eminence, genetically modified mutated beasts are a lot easier to deal with. That's true, Du Guqiong agreed. Outside of the military, every martial eminence is a big shot who can shake the world with a stomp of their foot. Martial eminence is different from other professions. Every time they advance a rank, their close combatability increases by several folds, so no one dares to offend them. A martial eminence's words are very representative. No matter what you do, I will only rush forward to kill you. Because of that, Gu Qinshan is afraid that if he angers him, he would rather destroy the space monster's body than hand it over. Secondly, for the sake of the martial eminence, he'll follow the casino's rules to make sure everything goes smoothly. He knows very well that the only thing he needs is the space monster. Nothing else is important. While the two of them were talking, everyone else had already finished placing their bets. The bottom of the lake started to shake. 3 black shadows gradually appeared in the underground lake, wandering lazily. Each of them is much bigger than the prehistoric crocodile from before. Gu Qinshan felt something and took out his hollow brain to check. Why did you automatically connect to the internet? He was surprised. Humanity's life is very interesting. I need to observe more, Impartial Goddess answered. Impartial Goddess automatically connected to Gu Qinshan's hollow brain, silently observing everything. Suddenly, the PA system announced, Countdown begins. The sound of a bell rang. This is the bell for the beasts to eat. The 3 shadows were immediately alerted and began to search for something in the lake. Someone threw a mangled arm into the water near the raft. The 3 shadows were like sharks that smelled blood, quickly approaching. Very quickly, they saw Gu Qinshan, stopped, then rushed forward. Gu Qinshan didn't have time to think about Impartial Goddess anymore, so he put away his hollow brain and grabbed the air. The earth's sword appeared in his hand. Gu Qinshan thought for a bit, then muttered, That's good with my strength. I can use the earth sword's 30,000 tons of strike that way. I don't even need Kai Shan style to dash. A prehistoric crocodile jumped forward, staring at Gu Qinshan with dozens of eyes on its head. The crowd on the shore broke out in an uproar. Gu Qinshan swung his sword horizontally, using the broad blade to strike the prehistoric crocodile's head. Bang! With a dull sound, the crocodile was knocked flying. Its body, which was as heavy and bloated as a mountain, quickly flew backward. Along the way, it streaked across the surface of the water, splashing up clusters of water. It was like throwing water into the water. Peace brings wealth. Gu Qinshan finally finished. The crowd went silent. Boom! The crocodile fell into the water, making a loud noise. The other two crocodiles were surprised, hesitating to move forward. As for the giant crocodile that was knocked out, it quickly floated up from under the water. It floated sideways on the surface of the water, motionless. It was knocked unconscious. Gu Qingshan was very pleased with the power of that strike. As long as the beast doesn't die, the casino won't lose anything, so it won't stop me from getting the space seed. Did you see that? Lady Dugu, his temper isn't very good. You still have time to go back to your seat, Zhang Youngho said. No need, Du Guqiong smiled, but focused on something else. His sword is 1 inch longer than a normal sword. Do you know why? It was now that Zhang Youngho seriously looked at it, a bit surprised. He didn't even notice this detail. He honestly said, I'm sorry. I'm not too sure about his weapon. Du Guqiong squinted her eyes, looking at the earth sword in Gu Qingshan's hand, muttering, This sword is different from the others. It's mesmerizing, something I've never seen before in my life. After a while, the other crocodile couldn't resist the temptation of food and tried to attack. Peace brings wealth. Gu Qingshan muttered, stepped forward and swung the earth sword again. BIA. This strike was a lot heavier than the one before. The giant crocodile was sent flying into the air and crashed into the edge of the high platform by the lake. Then, it tumbled down and fell into the lake. The crocodile let out a painful cry, then disappeared into the lake. Seeing that, the other crocodile turned around, dived back into the water, and also disappeared. They went back to hide. Gu Qingshan put her sword away, clasping her fist out of habit. Ancient etiquette. Chapter 100. The leading soldier glanced at Zhou Kai Wu and ordered. As ordered by impartial goddess, the 3rd Special Forces team has arrived at the scene. Begin to deal with the suspect, Zhou Kai Wu. Come with us. Hearing that, Zhou Kai Wu was about to explode, but the 5 soldiers already moved and surrounded him. Each of them put their hands on his shoulder. Their arms were like they were made of iron. Zhou Kai Wu struggled a bit, but couldn't move. He opened his eyes wide, looking at the 5 soldiers, only to find that they were all martial eminence. Damn bastards. He wanted to say something, unwilling to accept it. How dare you? The leading soldier shouted, kicking him down on the ground, moaning in pain. The soldier grabbed Zhou Kai Wu, kicked him off the ground, and flew straight up. Halfway there, they ran out of strength and were about to fall back down. But the soldier breathed out, shouted, unleashed his martial thaumaturgy power, and flew up again. Finally, the 2 of them disappeared from the entrance of the warship. Following them, the other 4 soldiers also flew up. Impartial goddess continued. From our initial calculations, this building cost around 8 billion to build, according to the depreciation rate. The current market value is 3 billion. Sir Gu Qingshan, would you like to take back this building to pay off Zhou Kai Wu's debt? Of course. I have a feeling that he won't be able to pay me back, Gu Qingshan said. I don't have the energy to care about these things. He patted Zhang Youngho, saying, You'll find someone to manage the casino, only the legal gambling business. The profits will be split 30% to you and 70% to me. Zhang Youngho rubbed his chin. That's it? You're a good business partner. He spoke regretfully. My business partner's assets will increase. It'll be beneficial to my business. Too bad the Hitman organization can't be listed. Otherwise, my stocks would definitely skyrocket. That's right. I can use a backdoor listing to open a company. Let's call it a raw meat butcher company? Seeing him like this, Gu Qingshan suddenly thought of Qin Shaolu for some reason. If the 2 of them get together, he quickly shook his head. Impartial goddess continued. I will send personnel into the building to collect further evidence of Zhou Kai Wu's crimes. Requesting permission from the building's owner. Gu Qingshan smiled and said, My pleasure. Gu Qingshan and Zhang Youngho stood up and walked in a hall, coincidentally bumping into Du Guangqiong. Thanks to you, my business is ruined. Du Guangqiong joked. I'm sorry. Do you need me to compensate you? Gu Qingshan said. Money is a small matter. I've had a very good time today. I'll be leaving first. I'll contact you if there's anything else. Du Guangqiong directly left the casino. This chick is not bad, but it's a pity that she has masochistic tendencies. Jang Young-ho looked at her back and muttered. Gu Qing-shan found a waiter. After witnessing the entire process, the attendant immediately changed his mind and brought the two of them to the elevator. The attendant pressed the button and the elevator began to move. Ding! The elevator reached the lowest floor. The elevator door opened. This place was filled with rows upon rows of long cages. The cages were dark, making it impossible to see what was inside from afar. Only the occasional hair-raising noises could be heard coming from inside the cages. Gu Qing-shan could clearly hear something gnawing on bones in one of the cages. Even Jang Young-ho couldn't help but feel that it was strange. Only someone like Gu Qing-shan, who had returned from the apocalypse, would know what these noises were from the monsters. The waiter turned around and asked, I need to confirm, the two of you gentlemen, are you only looking for the grand prize from the previous gamble? Gu Qing-shan's expression became serious and answered, That's right. We only want the grand prize. Jang Young-ho also nodded. The waiter said, Please follow me. Please be careful. There are a lot of strange things here. Please do not touch them. Saying so, he walked toward a certain direction. The two of them followed him, silently walked for a long time until they reached the final cage. This was a completely sealed steel structure. If not for the 2 rows of buttons on the wall, no one would know that there was still space inside. The waiter stepped forward and quickly pressed a few buttons on the wall. The heavy steel wall retreated to one side, letting out a cold mist that carried a bone-chilling air. There used to be a very large piece, but it's all rotten. We have no other way but to preserve it like this, the waiter explained. As Gu Qing-shan walked in, she felt a chill. In this freezer, there was a huge block of ice. Inside the block of ice, there was a piece of meat as tall as a person. The piece of meat slowly shrunk, then expanded again. Good stuff, Gu Qing-shan praised. Hearing that, both Jang Young-ho and the waiter were surprised. Gu Qing-shan didn't care about them and walked around the block of ice to confirm the value of this piece of meat. This is the space monster's heart, but only a very, very small part of it. The outer shell and skin of a space monster is the lowest value. The most useful parts are the flesh and bones. The most valuable are the organs. And among the organs, the heart is the most valuable. Ignoring the people around her, Gu Qing-shan took out the earth sword and began to cut open the ice. The hard ice was as soft as tofu in front of the earth sword. Wherever the earth sword went, the ice was easily cut open. Swinging the sword, Gu Qing-shan quickly took out the piece of the space monster's heart. The waiter on the side was already prepared, taking out a small refrigerated suitcase with a metal shell. Gu Qing-shan put the piece of the space monster's heart inside and smiled. Thank you, the waiter slightly bowed, trying to flatter her. You're our new boss. Everything we do is only natural. The waiter brought the two of them to another area sealed off by a steel wall. This is the second prize, a strange person. Do we need this? Jang Young-ho couldn't help but ask. Of course not. At first, Gu Qing-shan didn't want to look anymore, but then he had a thought. The worry that was hidden in the depths of his heart suddenly surged up at this moment. Gu Qing-shan was startled, her back covered in a layer of cold sweat. Why am I like this? Gu Qing-shan immediately paid attention. Sometimes, a cultivator will have a sudden impulse to sense something that's about to happen. Wait a minute, he said. Let's take a look first. Hearing that, the waiter went to open the door. Gu Qing-shan and Jang Young-ho were both a bit curious. The waiter said that the second prize was a strange person. What would be considered strange? The steel wall slowly opened to one side. Gu Qing-shan and Jang Young-ho were both stunned. Different from before, this was a small, cramped space. A withered old man, his hands, feet, and neck all held in place by thick metal hoops stuck to the steel wall. His abdomen was cut open. It was empty, his organs were nowhere to be seen. But from the slight rise and fall of his chest, he was still breathing. The old man's eyes were closed, as if he was sleeping. He's still alive? Jang Young-ho's expression turned serious. Yes, he's still alive, the waiter answered. Jang Young-ho opened his mouth wide, unable to say anything. As an aristocrat of the Nine Lords, ever since he was young, He's seen a lot of strange things. But none of those things could compare to the scene in front of him. A man who lost his organs is still alive. If this was caused by a genetic mutation, from a DNA perspective, as long as we record and extract the corresponding DNA fragments, we'll be able to find the secret of immortality. Chapter 101. She's a grandmaster weaponsmith with keen observation skills. Now that she's interested in a man, she won't miss a single detail. On the platform, everyone was sighing. Some were whispering to each other. What do you think? From what I can sense, he hasn't even used 10% of his strength. Any of your subordinates would just die. What if I invite Sir Martial Eminence? That's going to cost a lot of money, and the consequences are unpredictable. Forget it. I'll just throw my money into the water. This gambler is also a wise man. A small boat came to take Gu Qingshan back to the platform. Du Guangxiong quickly combed her bangs to make sure there's nothing wrong with her appearance, stood up, and extended her hand. Nice to meet you. I'm Du Guangxiong. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Why did this woman come over after being scared? Gu Qingshan glanced at Zhang Yongho. Zhang Yongho shrugged. He extended his hand. I'm Gu Qingshan. I'm sorry about what happened just now. Du Guangxiong showed a gentle smile and said, It's fine. After all, this is your line of work. I can understand. Line of work? What line of work? Gu Qingshan glanced at Zhang Yongho again. Zhang Yongho turned around and looked at the underground lake, suddenly interested in it. What business do you have with me? Gu Qingshan asked. Du Guangxiong smiled. It's nothing much. I just came to say hello. I'll be leaving now. She seemed to have something she wanted to say. Gu Qingshan also smiled and said, Du Guangxiong was encouraged and said, Your sword is very special. Your bow also surprised me. I'm a weapon manufacturer of Fuxi Empire. If you have any other needs in weapons, you can come to me. I specialize in customizing weapons for professionals, she added. Gu Qingshan felt her goodwill, thought for a bit, and said, How about we exchange contact information? Du Guangxiong's eyes lit up. That's right. These words should be said by a man. She took out her hollow brain and exchanged contact information with Gu Qingshan. Then I'm leaving. Goodbye, she said at last. Goodbye, Gu Qingshan said. Only when Du Guangxiong left, satisfied, did the waiter come over. This attendant was different from the previous one. He was a calm middle-aged man. Please wait for a moment. Our boss will see you in a moment. All right, we can wait. Gu Qingshan looked around and saw that the crowd was slowly leaving. The attendant then left and went all the way to the top floor of the casino. From here, one could overlook the night view of the capital, and it was decorated very luxuriously. A burly man with a full beard was sitting on a large sofa. Beside him were two beautiful women. One was pouring wine, while the other was massaging his shoulders. If Gu Qingshan and Zhang Yongho were here, they would definitely recognize this person as the martial honor who had appeared on the lake previously. Boss, it's over, the waiter said. The martial honor received a glass of hard liquor with ice and swirled it in his hand. The martial honor thought for a bit, then said something strange. Very well, let's wait a bit longer until everyone is left. At this point, two of his subordinates came in and said, Boss, your guest has had enough fun. Bring her in, the martial honor ordered. A few minutes later, Du Guangxiong was led into this place. The martial honor stood up and said, Welcome, welcome, our esteemed weapon grandmaster. What do you want to do by inviting me here? Du Guangxiong asked directly. The boss rubbed his hands, answering, I want to make myself, a full set of weapons. Please prepare the payment and show me what you're capable of, Du Guangxiong said. Of course, the boss smiled and said. He turned on the surveillance camera and looked at the screen. He saw that the people on the platforms around the underground lake had all left, leaving only two young men sitting there quietly. It's them? The martial honor asked. Yes, the waiter answered. Come, let's go meet today's lucky winner, the martial honor said. While Gu Qingshan and Zhang Yongho were getting impatient, a muscular man with a full beard came in with a group of people. What surprised them was that Du Guangxiong was also standing on one side. Du Guangxiong tilted her head and smiled as a greeting. Welcome to my casino. How was it? Did you enjoy yourself? The martial honor sat down across from them and asked. Sir Martial Honor, your event was very interesting. Jang Young-ho praised him. The martial honor status is very high, so even he couldn't help but change his attitude. As long as you enjoyed it, the martial honor said, and put 2 golden cards in front of them. These are the casino's VIP cards, limited to 30. I'll give each of you one, so that when you come to play, you'll be able to enjoy a lot of privileges and privileges. There's such a benefit. Gu Qing-shan and Jang Young-ho looked at each other, then spoke at the same time. Thank you, sir, the martial honor said. Very well. I have a lot of things to do, so I won't be seeing you out. Please go, sir. Where do we receive our grand prize? Gu Qing-shan asked. That the martial honor waved his hand. It's just a commercial to attract customers. No need to take it too seriously, no? It's fake. Gu Qing-shan and Jang Young-ho were both shocked. Gu Qing-shan looked at Jang Young-ho. Jang Young-ho answered, Black Cat doesn't lie. Gu Qing-shan's expression changed. He's made so many compromises just to complete the war god quest, but now he's being made a fool of again and again. No matter how good of a person he is, he's starting to have other thoughts. Seeing his expression, the martial honor smirked mockingly, asking, What? You still want to blackmail this great one? He leaned forward, speaking with a threatening tone. I'm currently hiring a Grandmaster weaponsmith to make a weapon, but I'm still missing 2 human-shaped punching bags to display my martial arts. Do you want to try? The martial honor's destructive power isn't something a normal god's, chosen, or elementalist can go against. Although a martial honor's rank is lower than a 4th-stage elementalist, in actual combat, if a martial honor goes all out, he could drag a 4th-stage elementalist down with him. If a martial honor wants to kill someone, very few people can stop him. Gu Qing-shan suddenly smiled, then slowly spoke. If we're talking about strength, I should call you my senior, but in the casino business, you have to be willing to lose. You're in this business, but you don't follow the rules of this business, so I dash before the words no need to respect you could be said. Before the sword was drawn, the hollow brain suddenly vibrated. Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but take out his hollow brain to take a look. Line after line of text quickly appeared on the hollow brain. Seeing this, Gu Qing-shan's eyebrows slowly raised. In his eyes, surprise replaced the growing, killing intent. You're just what? The martial honor clenched his fist, smirking. Gu Qing-shan suddenly stood up. Say, let's go. Jang Young-ho was already prepared to kill, but was stopped by that one sentence. Gu Qing-shan pulled him away, not even looking back. Seeing this, the martial honor mocked. So they're just 2 cowards. His fist slowly loosened. Look, 2 arrogant pretty boys, not crying in front of me is already something to be proud of. But then again, my casino does welcome these little lambs, the martial honor said to Du Guangqiong. Du Guangqiong bit her lip, feeling like something wasn't right. Outside the casino, Jang Young-ho opened his eyes wide, standing in front of Gu Qing-shan's hollow brain. Hello, Federation aristocrat Jang Young-ho. I am impartial goddess. Can you move your face back a bit? The court is about to begin. Please maintain your composure to maintain the dignity of the Federation's court. The court? Jang Young-ho was shocked. A civil compensation case regarding the compulsory delivery of assets, of course. The specifics will depend on the creditor. Mr. Gu Qing-shan's will impartial goddess answered. The court is now in session. According to tonight's first round of betting, Mr. Gu Qing-shan invested 1 billion Federation credits worth of chips. He should receive 6 billion in return. According to tonight's second round of betting, Mr. Gu Qing-shan invested 6 billion Federation credits worth of chips. He should receive 20 billion Federation credits in return through video and surveillance at the scene. The debtor refuses to pay the corresponding credits. With the surveillance at the scene as physical evidence and me as a witness to testify in court, in accordance with federal judicial procedures, the defendant will be judged in absentia. The verdict has been reached, and the compulsory civil compensation procedure will now be initiated. The debtor, Zhou Kai Wu, his assets are as follows, a very long list. Mr. Gu Qing-shan, please proceed with the delivery of assets as soon as impartial god is finished. Both of them were stunned. Jang Young-ho muttered. That can't be right. Since when did impartial goddess get involved in the casino's business? Gu Qing-shan stayed silent, then suddenly smiled. He pointed at the highest floor of the casino. I want that floor. That was where the casino's boss usually stayed. Impartial goddess quickly answered. From now on, that floor is Mr. Gu Qing-shan's personal property. After deducting the processing fees, taxes, and notary fees, Mr. Gu Qing-shan still has 100 million to choose from. Maybe it was Jang Young-ho's imagination, but Impartial Goddess' tone seemed to contain a bit of excitement, as if she was watching a show. Chapter 102. Please be careful, the servant solemnly told him. Why? Jang Young-ho looked at the man on the wall like he was looking at a treasure. Because he's very fierce, Gu Qing-shan answered and sighed deeply. He was a bit sad, so he closed his eyes. This life, fate didn't play according to the rules. The situation that he's been afraid of has finally appeared. After a short moment of silence, Gu Qing-shan opened his eyes, trying his best to stay calm. He asked, "This man, where did you find him?" The servant replied, "One of our employees suddenly went crazy and tried to bite the boss. The boss casually crippled him, but he didn't die. It's a blessing in disguise. It's fortunate that his target was a martial eminence," saying so. Gu Qing-shan took a few steps forward. Sensing the presence of a living person, the man on the wall abruptly opened his eyes, saliva dripping from his mouth. "Roar!" He roared, struggling, trying to escape from the wall. Seeing the crazed desire in his eyes, Jang Young-ho suddenly realized something. This man is very hungry, and he wants to eat me. Such a thought caused Jang Young-ho to stand still, unable to move. Gu Qing-shan blankly walked in front of the wall, raised the earth sword, and stabbed forward. A fierce thrust. This strike didn't hold back at all. The entire steel wall, as well as the old man, was pierced through, leaving a large hole. The entire skyscraper shook from the impact. This time, even the casino's employees began to flee the building. "You don't need to do this even if you don't want this guy. This is our property," Jang Young-ho couldn't help but call out. "Property?" Gu Qing-shan smiled bitterly. "The property will soon cease to exist," he said. "What is it? What happened?" Jang Young-ho noticed that something wasn't right. Gu Qing-shan pulled him away. "We don't have much time. Let's talk on the way." The two of them left the casino. Gu Qing-shan looked at him and said seriously, "I'll give you a piece of advice. Go ahead. I'm listening." Looking at Gu Qing-shan's attitude, Jang Young-ho also became serious. Gu Qing-shan replied, "These creatures are worthless. If we encounter them again, just break their necks or even blow their heads off. Don't get scratched by it, and don't get bitten." Jang Young-ho asked, "What if I get bitten?" Gu Qing-shan did not respond. Jang Young-ho asked curiously, "What's wrong with you? Why do I feel like something is wrong with you?" Letting out a long sigh, Gu Qing-shan said, "Take care of yourself. I don't want to lose a partner." "What do you mean?" Jang Young-ho still didn't understand. "Idiot!" Gu Qing-shan suddenly scolded. "That's an infected body. Anyone who gets bitten will turn into a man-eater fiend. The end of the world is coming. Do you understand? The ocean. Humanity. There will be more to come. Everything has changed. Everything has changed." Jang Young-ho was stunned. He has never seen Gu Qing-shan this angry before. Even when martial eminence Zhou Kai Wu made fun of Gu Qing-shan a few times, Gu Qing-shan wasn't this angry. "I'm sorry." Gu Qing-shan noticed that her emotions weren't quite right, so she softened her tone. "If you have someone close to you who's still in the crowd, quickly go and protect them." Jang Young-ho stared straight at Gu Qing-shan, saying, "Tell me, you're lying to me." "No, I'm telling the truth. I guarantee it with my head." Gu Qing-shan stared back at him without flinching. Finally, he said, "I advise you to quickly go and save them. Definitely don't get bitten, otherwise you won't be able to save them." Jang Young-ho stood still for a while, finally understanding what Gu Qing-shan's words meant. "Sister." He remembered something as his expression changed. "Damn it, I have to make it in time." He put his hand on the ground and shouted, "Black cat, wild deer." A large hole appeared on the ground. Black cat was the first to jump out. Following that, A brown deer with long antlers and a bell on its neck jumped out. Jang Young-ho spat out some blood, but didn't mind it and wiped his mouth with his hand. He jumped on top of the deer and put Black Cat on his shoulder. Black Cat, lead the way to where my sister is. Please run as fast as you can. The wild deer shook its head, stepped on the void of space, and began to run towards the sky. The stag's speed gradually increased. In the end, it streaked across the sky like a brown meteor, flying into the distance. After Jang Young-ho left, Gu Qing-shan forced herself to calm down and quickly thought of a plan. Su Cher is currently in seclusion at home. The Su family security is tight, and there's even a 4-stage ability user on the island to protect her. Her personal safety shouldn't be an issue. Anna is strong, so there shouldn't be an issue. The ones that are an issue are normal people, the weak mortals of the world. Gu Qing-shan took out his hollow brain and turned it on. Impartial goddess, he called out. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I heard your call. What can I do for you? Sir Gu Qing-shan, impartial goddess voice came. Gu Qing-shan began to speak. Gu Qing-shan said, I've discovered a unique situation. I hope it can attract your attention. Then he remembered something and said, Right, it's best if you connect to the president. We'll talk about it together, impartial goddess replied. Very well. Contacting the president requires the highest authority as a leader. Would you like to authorize it? I authorize it. Very well. The president is connecting. A few moments later, the president's image appeared on the hollow brain. The president's face was filled with fatigue. His eyes were bloodshot. Gu Qing-shan felt that he had aged quite a bit. The changes in the ocean during this period of time seemed to have put a lot of pressure on him. Qing-shan, impartial goddess, said you're looking for me. The president kindly asked. More accurately, I'm looking for impartial goddess, and you, if there's anything, we'll talk about it tonight. I can go back and rest tonight. We can eat together, the president smiled and said. He continued, I've already promised to have lunch with you, but I've been so busy lately that my advisors and I have to stay in the office. Gu Qing-shan bitterly smiled, saying, I'm afraid you won't be able to return tonight either, What do you mean? The president was a bit confused. Gu Qing-shan deeply sighed. First, he said something that moved His Excellency the President. From now on, I authorize the President to use all of my research results. There's no need to ask me for special authorization. What happened? Is an aristocrat threatening you? The President's tone became stern. Gu Qing-shan shook his head, but said, Has impartial goddess recorded my authorization? Authorization has been recorded. Please continue. Sir Gu Qing-shan, impartial goddess answered. Gu Qing-shan nodded, then continued to explain. There are currently 2 new viruses that have never been seen before. The first virus spreads through wounds. Those who are infected will lose all consciousness and become extremely thirsty for human flesh. I call this the man-eater syndrome. This virus is directly related to a person's constitution. The stronger a person is, the harder it is to be infected. The only good news is that the man-eater syndrome will only infect a large number of humans, but it won't evolve aside from the man-eater syndrome. There's an even more terrifying virus, which is the second virus I'm about to tell you. Gu Qing-shan stopped. Damn it, what's going on with this world? The next virus, even professionists won't be able to escape. He pursed his lips, calmed himself down a bit, then continued. The second virus turns humans into a higher-level man-eater fiend. Anyone has a chance of being infected, no matter how rich or poor they are, no matter how tight their defenses are. Unless they're a 4-stage professionist or above, no one will be able to escape its clutches. Even if the infected are injected with the highest concentration of heroin, the infected's brain won't produce dopamine. Killing is the only thing that can bring them pleasure, as well as the strongest thought left in the infected's mind. Those who are infected have an extreme desire to kill everything that is alive in their sight. Gu Qing-shan stopped again. In the end, he told the truth that caused humanity to despair. Through the air. Chapter 103. The Underground Lake. Martial Eminence Zhou Kai-Wu ordered. Let the big guys out. I want to show the esteemed Grandmaster Weaponsmith my fighting style. One after another, black shadows appeared in the lake. Then, I'll begin. He took off his coat and walked towards the underground lake step by step. Du Guangqiong crossed her arms, silently watching on the side. For some reason, she kept recalling the strange expression on Gu Qingshan's face when she left. Zhou Kaiwu walked to the lakeside, about to jump in when one of his subordinates called out, "Boss, your hollow brain." Zhou Kaiwu was surprised and looked over. As soon as the subordinate was stared at, he couldn't help but shiver. Being interrupted at such an important moment made Zhou Kaiwu very unhappy. But this subordinate is his trusted aide. Unless it's something urgent, he wouldn't spoil his mood right now. Zhou Kaiwu couldn't help but walk back and grab his hollow brain. "I am impartial goddess." A serious female voice came from the hollow brain. Zhou Kaiwu was stunned. Ever since he went underground, it's been so many years since he came into contact with the Federation's hollow brain. Why is it suddenly here today? Du Guangqiong looked up at the hollow brain with interest. She heard that the entire Federation is under impartial goddess supervision. Wherever it wants to connect to, whoever it wants to find, it's all done in an instant. And now she's finally seeing it. Inside the hollow brain, impartial goddess continued to announce her verdict. Zhou Kaiwu's face slowly turned pale. Why? Before he could finish, he heard a faint tremor and noise coming from above his head. Boom, 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 boom. Impartial goddess voice came at the same time. Please do not panic. The Federation Civil Affairs Department is currently dealing with private property. The explosion this time used the latest international standards with the highest level of safety. There won't be any threat to your lives. Hearing this, everyone present revealed a look of surprise. Zhou Kaiwu cursed. Bastard, that belongs to me. He didn't even care about Du Guangqiong and quickly ran out. Du Guangqiong was stunned, digesting what she just heard. Then she burst out laughing. Zhou Kaiwu went into the elevator, going all the way to the first floor, the lobby of the casino. The elevator door was kicked away by him in a fit of rage. Zhou Kaiwu ran out of the casino and stood at the entrance, looking towards the top floor of the casino. That was the high-rise building overlooking the capital. It was the place where he drank and had fun. It was the place where he used to enjoy himself. But now, that place had been turned into a flat ground. Many construction robots were busy cleaning up the construction debris, doing the final finishing work. 2 large construction ships hovered at the side of the roof, taking over the dismantled walls. A large amount of dust floated down from the sky, landing everywhere. Many people were leaving the casino. This kind of super high-altitude robot operation was very worrying about safety issues. During the super high-altitude operation, the continuous noise from the large construction ship made the entire building look like a noisy vegetable market. Soon, the regular gambling businesses on the first, second, and third floors were all affected. After more and more gamblers came out to take a look, they frowned and went to get the shuttle and quickly left. Zhou Kaiwu was trembling with anger. As soon as he turned around, he saw Gu Qingshan and Zhang Yinghao on the other side of the street. 2 brats die. He angrily shouted and leapt forward. A flash of lightning. With a dull sound of impact, Zhou Kaiwu was sent flying back to the casino's main entrance, crashing through who knows how many tables and walls before landing back in front of the elevator. After this chaos, the normally operating casino's main hall was filled with screams and cries. The gamblers who only came to have fun ran away from the casino in a panic, scattering in all directions. This time, the casino was about to close for good. Zhang Yongho put down the miniature nano-disintegration cannon in his hand and said with a pained expression, "That one shot will cost me 2 million Federation credits. I don't care, you have to pay for it." Fine. Gu Qingshan said, 10 more shots. Do you think they're cabbages? Zhang Yongho glared at him and put down the cannon. The cannon slowly shrank and magically turned into a black cube. Zhang Yongho carefully put the black cube into his pocket and said, "I can only fire 1 shot at a time, and this is only an experimental special warfare weapon. Other than me, no one else would be able to get their hands on it. Then it's fine." Gu Qingshan looked at the time on her hollow brain. "They're about to get here. Martial Eminence." Zhou Kaiwu stood up and wiped his chest with his hand. Looking at the blood on his hand, he went into a frenzy. "I'm hurt. I was actually hurt by 2 brats?" A frenzied roar echoed throughout the entire casino. "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." It's been a long time since he received such a blow, and it wasn't from an opponent of the same rank. A martial eminence is a mainstay of professionists, not to be trifled with. But now someone dares to stroke his tiger whiskers, killing intent boiled in his heart. Zhou Kaiwu stomped his foot and rushed out of the casino again, silently swearing to himself that no matter what price he has to pay, he'll kill these two brats. As soon as he left the casino, he couldn't help but suppress his anger again. "Mr. Zhou Kaiwu, please come with us." Two police mobile mechs blocked his way, and one of the mechs said, "Old son, what the hell are you doing?" Zhou Kaiwu tried his best to suppress his anger and asked. The one who spoke was the captain of this area's mech garrison. They've always maintained a good relationship, often playing cards together. "It can't be helped if I don't come. Not only will I be charged with misconduct, the military will also intervene," the mech's man helplessly said. Zhou Kaiwu coldly laughed, saying, "I'm a registered martial eminence of the Federation. I have priority bail. Who dares to touch me?" At this time, a ding sound was heard. Everyone's hollow brain lit up. Impartial Goddess' voice came from inside, carried by the night wind for a long time. Federation Martial Eminence Zhou Kaiwu, attacking an aristocrat of the Federation, attacking the highest leader of the Federation. Unforgivable, priority bail withdrawn. Due to Zhou Kaiwu's personal strength, danger rating is red. Garrison troops dispatched aristocrat. Highest leader? Zhou Kaiwu felt like he was hit in the chest with a hammer, so shocked that he couldn't say anything. He looked at Zhang Young-ho, then at Gu Qing-shan, shouting, "Impartial Goddess, have you gone mad?" Impartial Goddess obviously decided to ignore him and continued. "Casino under Zhou Kaiwu's name, applied for 28 floors, but the actual construction is 28 floors above ground, 90 floors below ground. Violating construction plans, casino under Zhou Kaiwu's name. The first, second, and third floors are legal gambling. The 10th floor and below are all special gambling that violates the Federation's laws. Using prohibited mutated beasts and kidnapped Federation citizens as gambling content due to the lack of information regarding the casino. Zhou Kaiwu will be detained from today onwards." Along with this sentence, a huge warship appeared in the sky. 5 figures fell from the battleship like meteors. Boom! The 5 landed in front of the casino's main entrance and stood up. Chapter 104. As the president heard that, he froze. He asked with a hoarse voice, "Has it been confirmed?" Gu Qing-shan nodded, then added, "Man-killer fiends have a certain degree of self-awareness. The stronger they are, the clearer their awareness." The president couldn't believe it, hesitantly asked, "Impartial Goddess?" Impartial Goddess paused for a while, then continued, "The 2 virus symptoms have appeared in by Sha County Central Hospital, Changzhou County Level 2 County Hospital, as well as the Capital Emergency Center, currently showing signs of spreading." "It's true," the president muttered. His expression was like a boxer who just got punched in the face, trying his best to pull himself together, but couldn't. As Gu Qing-shan looked at him, she suddenly realized that he's only an old man. The president suddenly looked up, looking at Gu Qing-shan, and said, "Qing-shan, you are the Federation's most brilliant scientist in the last few decades. You have to come and help me. Help every innocent person." Gu Qing-shan went silent for a bit, then said, "I will come, but not now. The most important thing right now is for Impartial Goddess to act immediately." The 2 of them looked at the hollow brain. Impartial Goddess suddenly spoke, requesting the 2 highest leaders' authorization. Impartial Goddess has full authority to take over all matters of the Federation. The president replied, "I authorize." Gu Qing-shan replied, "I authorize." Impartial Goddess replied, "Authorization received. The Federation has entered the highest state of emergency, connected to the 9 lords, connected to the president's manor. All 3 armies have entered dark red state of war alert. Beginning analysis of countermeasures, generating a total of 1,958 countermeasures, selecting the ones with the highest success rate. Selection complete. Number of countermeasures selected, 0. Proceeding with intelligence gathering. The light from the hollow brain slowly dimmed, then finally turned off. With impartial goddess operating speed, she didn't even have time to talk to Gu Shan or say goodbye. Gu Shan stared at the hollow brain for a while, then put her hand on the off button. As long as impartial goddess pays attention to this beforehand, there's a chance that the situation can be controlled. It's the crystallization of humanity's civilization. As long as they know the cause and the virus's details, there's a chance to stop the virus from spreading. He might not succeed, but there was a chance. This was already very good. Even so, Gu Shan could not relax at all. From today onwards, this life would be completely different from his previous one. In his previous life, there was an entire year between the monster and the virus. Many important things had happened in this year. It was not until a year later that the virus appeared. As someone who knew the future, fate played a joke on Gu Shan. Any reincarnated person would never have thought that something that was supposed to happen a year later would suddenly happen in advance. It was like a deck of cards that had been completely broken up and new cards had been added. In this life, the sea monsters would soon arrive and the virus would appear at the same time. What about other disasters? It wouldn't happen in the near future, right? If that was the case, the entire world would fall into the abyss. This world would be destroyed even earlier than his previous life. After all, he still had World's Apocalypse online in his previous life, which allowed him to travel through the cultivation world and quickly improve his strength. But in this life, the disaster is already upon us, and World's Apocalypse online hasn't even appeared yet. If they waited until the end of the world, the game wouldn't even have started. That would be the end of everything. Gu Shan walked forward with a heavy heart. This feeling of helplessness made him feel uneasy. "What's the matter? You don't seem to be in a good mood," a pleasant female voice came. Gu Shan looked up, only to see Anna standing on the wall in front of him, her crimson red hair fluttering in the wind, staring at him without blinking. "Anna," he bitterly spoke. In the past life, Anna died while surrounded by an endless horde of high-ranking demons. At the time, I had to travel for several days to save her, but I couldn't make it in time. This life situation is even worse than the previous one. Do I have to watch her die in front of me? No, I can't let that happen." Gu Shan suddenly remembered something. The tragic fate that Anna suffered in the past life seems to have started in just a month. One more month. But now that the world is changing so much, how could Gu Shan confidently say that Anna will be safe for the time being? That fate almost caused Anna to break down and commit suicide. No, I can't let that happen to Anna again. I can't let Anna return to the Holy Empire. Gu Shan's thoughts flashed like lightning. All the expressions on his face fell into Anna's eyes. Anna was infected by the madness and sorrow in his eyes, lowered her head and asked, "What's the matter? Which idiot pissed you off? I'm going to beat him up." Gu Shan stared at her for a while without saying anything. Anna didn't know what to do from his stare. Her face suddenly flushed red. "Oh no, I didn't wash my hair today," she silently thought. Gu Shan's expression changed. On the war god UI, a red light flashed across his retina, turning into a few lines of text. "Time flow is chaotic. The user must immediately enter the cultivation world. Otherwise, the space tunnel will be completely closed, unable to be open again. Would the user like to enter? Yes/no." Looking at the notification on the war god UI, Gu Shan suddenly understood. The chaotic time flow might not only be related to that terrifying space monster, but also because of the world's rapid change. He didn't have time to think too much, because a few more lines of text appeared on the UI. "Please immediately enter the cultivation world. Please immediately enter the cultivation world. The tunnel will be closed immediately. 15 seconds countdown begins." Gu Shan didn't waste any time and quickly said, "No matter what happens, do not leave the Federation. Wait for me to return." Saying so, Gu Shan leapt onto the wall, took something out from his neck, and hung it around Anna's neck. After that, he held Anna's hand tightly. "Wait for me," he said. The screen of light flashed. Gu Shan disappeared without a trace. Anna was stunned for a bit, then lowered her head and took the thing out from her neck. A lonely old man was sitting on top of a rock, resting with a scythe in hand. The death god's relic. The life substitution contract. And he gave it back to me. Doesn't he know what this means? From now on, if my life is in danger, he will pay twice the amount of vitality. Doesn't he know? Anna stared blankly at the life substitution contract for a bit. That's right, he definitely knows. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hung this legendary item around my neck. I'm willing to use my own vitality to save you. So you're going to do the same for me? Anna's lips curled up a bit, then slowly went back down. She lightly sobbed, then smiled happily. Ever since her mother passed away when she was very young, she had already forgotten what warmth was. Just now, she found herself once again feeling this way. A few moments later, a shadow came from afar, turning into Feng Huoda on the wall. Feng Huoda asked, "You've already said goodbye?" Anna said, "I haven't had time yet." "Where did he go?" "Probably busy. I think he has a rare god's chosen skill." "All right, we'll go first. You can use your hollow brain to talk to him later," Feng Huoda said. Anna stood in the middle of the night, speechless. From afar, flames could be seen, screams and cries could be heard. Right after that, all sorts of terrifying noises could be heard, as if everyone in the city had agreed to eat at the same time, letting out the sound of chewing and tearing. The air was filled with the stench of blood, making people feel like they're in a slaughterhouse. A shrill scream was heard. As soon as the scream was heard, it was cut off, as if something even worse had happened. Sounds of explosions came from the sky. The police mech squadron had moved out. A group of people were screaming in fear, running through the alleyway. "Something's not right. Your Highness, we need to leave immediately," Feng Huoda said. "No." Anna suddenly spat out a single word. Her tone was resolute as she added, "I'm not leaving," Feng Huoda said. "His Majesty's order is very urgent. We need to return immediately," Anna said. "I want to wait for him," Feng Huoda helplessly said. "What can we do even if we wait for him? We'll only need to say a few more words. His Majesty has issued the highest military order. It's very urgent. If we return late, both you and I will be heavily punished." Anna slowly sat down on the wall, her legs dangling in the air, swaying back and forth. She calmly said, "He told me to wait for him, so I'll wait for him. I'm not going anywhere." Feng Huoda sighed. There's nothing he can do. He suddenly turned around, looking at the corner of the street. On the other side of the street, a few drunk people were staggering towards the two of them. Chapter 106. Orchid Hall. In the darkness, Gu Qingshan has returned. He silently picked up a bottle, poured out one of the pills inside, raised his head, and swallowed it. This is a high-grade pill, able to help him heal all his wounds and dispel his fatigue. 2 hours later, Gu Qingshan woke up from his deep meditation. Using inner sight to check himself, he found that he's back to his peak state. He patted his inventory bag and took out a mini freezer with a metal shell. Opening it, he took out the space monster's heart fragment. "Insert," Gu Qingshan ordered. Immediately, the space monster's heart fragment was sucked into the war god UI, falling into the only remaining hole. The hole suddenly disappeared. All 5 holes on the ring have been filled up, turning into 5 glowing dots. The light slowly spread to the entire ring. A line of glowing text appeared on the UI. Condition fulfilled. Quest. War God's Thaumaturgy completed. Thaumaturgy selection has been prepared. Please begin breakthrough. It's done. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief. A thaumaturgy can only be awakened when a cultivator is able to sense the heaven and earth when they break through a realm. Even the system can't give it to him beforehand. What he needs to do now is to break through Qi Training Realm and reach Foundation Establishment Realm. Once he reaches Foundation Establishment Realm, his strength will increase greatly. In the upcoming chaos of the world, he'll have even more power to protect himself. Gu Qingshan held himself back and didn't attempt to break through on the spot. Breaking through a realm has always been dangerous. If he's not careful, he'll go mad and lose all his strength. Going from Qi Training to Foundation Establishment is the first hurdle. Even with Gu Qingshan's experience from his past life, he doesn't dare to underestimate it. In the past life, many players, even with the system's help, still suffered a lot in the process of breaking through Qi Training to Foundation Establishment. Some didn't die in the mouth of the monster, but paid the price with their lives during the process of breaking through. Later on, when their cultivation gets higher, going from a higher realm to a higher realm will bring about a lightning tribulation, an even more terrifying tribulation. Now that I'm a disciple of Baihua sect, a disciple of the saint herself, why not wait until morning and ask 100 Flowers Fairy? This was the safest way. Moreover, with the sage's foresight and skill, he might be able to give him some guidance that was different from his previous life. Gu Qingshan made up her mind, so she sat down on the praying mat and quietly adjusted her breathing. The sky gradually brightened. A white goose flew into the orchid hall. "Junior brother, are you preparing to break through?" White Goose glanced at Gu Qingshan from top to bottom, noticing that his spirit energy is full, his condition at its peak, giving off a feeling of being prepared for battle. "That's perfect. I was also thinking that since you're already Qi training stage 7, I should teach you the method to break through." The White Goose nodded. "Thank you, eldest brother," Gu Qingshan said. "There's no need to be so polite. Let's go eat breakfast first. After breakfast, I'll go with your second senior brother and slowly give you advice," White Goose said as he turned around and walked out of the hall. Gu Qingshan stood up and followed him out. Breakfast was served in the main hall, 100 Flowers Hall. This is where the 100 Flowers Fairy handles all matters, but it's also the place where everyone in Baihua sect eats breakfast. "Are we going to eat here?" Gu Qingshan asked. "It's fine. Shifu likes lively places," White Goose answered. Breakfast was snow spirit flowers. This kind of flower has a very mild taste, very beneficial to a cultivator's soul vessel. This flower can be used to make pills, as well as spirit cooking. Eating it for a long time will increase the toughness of a cultivator's soul vessel. The tougher the soul vessel, the harder it is to be charmed, and the harder it is to get hurt. A single snow spirit flower is worth 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. What can 10,000 low-grade spirit stones do? It's enough to rent a shop in the middle of a busy market and pay a year's worth of rent. It's enough to get a free job at the front lines, where you don't have to fight demons. It's enough to help a cultivator go from Qi training stage all the way to foundation establishment middle stage. In the bowl in front of Gu Qingshan, there were 5 snow spirit flowers. This breakfast alone cost 50,000 low-grade spirit stones. He breathed in and looked at everyone else's bowls. White Goose and Qin Shaolu were the same. There were 5 snow spirit flowers in their bowls. Only Xiao had 9. Xiao's soul vessel still hasn't fully recovered, and she's the youngest junior sister, so it's understandable. All right, for people, a single breakfast is worth 240,000 low-grade spirit stones. Gu Qingshan was used to being frugal in both her lives, so seeing this, she couldn't help but silently sigh. He suddenly remembered an old poem. Wine and meat stink in a luxurious house. Flowers are fragrant. It's fine, it's fine. Where's Shifu? Qin Shaolu asked. There's something at the front lines. Both Tianzuan and Grandmaster have gone. And this morning, Shifu also went, Xiao answered. Shifu isn't here. Qin Shaolu's eyes were glowing. That's great. This stupid flower, it's so bland. Saying so, Qin Shaolu put all the flowers in his bowl into Xiao's bowl. Tapping his inventory bag, he took out a long iron filament, then the firewood, then the seasoning, and finally a skinned and washed 2-horned spirit goat. Isn't it too greasy to eat this in the morning? Gu Qingshan asked. If you don't want to eat it, you don't have to come help. Qin Shaolu lowered his head, busy brushing seasoning on the goat. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then hurriedly went to help. Eating this in the morning isn't good for your stomach, White Goose said. If you don't want to eat it, you don't have to come help. Qin Shaolu lowered his head, busy brushing seasoning on the goat. White Goose thought for a bit, then flapped his wings, stacking the firewood neatly together, starting a fire. Xiao took a bite of the flower, muttering, I want a leg of the goat. Second brother, Qin Shaolu claimed to be proficient in the 6 arts, but of the 6 arts, the strongest would be spirit cooking. Each of his dishes left a deep impression on everyone, to the point that no one here wants to miss his dish. A few hours later, 3 people and a goose laid on the floor of Baihua Palace, not moving at all. They all ate too much. Xiao Lu. Qing Shan is about to break through, White Goose suddenly said. That's a good thing, but I can't move right now, and he probably can't either. Qin Xiaolu picked his teeth. Ha! I still want to break through today. Why did I eat too much? Gu Qing Shan silently blamed herself. We can discuss it first, White Goose said. That's fine. Let me think about it. Qin Xiaolu thought for a bit and said. Seeing that, everyone stopped bothering him and waited for his answer. A few moments later, the sound of snoring could be heard. White Goose jumped up, kicking Qin Xiaolu's face with his goose paw. Ah! Dash! A ghostly wail and wolf-like howl resounded. A few moments later, the three people and one goose sat in a circle, sitting together. It is indeed dangerous to cross a great realm. I feel that I need to use my formation and eldest senior brother to protect you from the side. Only then will you be safe. Qin Xiaolu, whose face was swollen like a steamed bun, very seriously said. Then what about the method to break through? Gu Qing Shan asked. You don't need to worry about that. I'll go prepare it. Saying so, the white goose flapped his wings and flew away. I'll cheer for senior brother. Xiao Xiao swung her fist from the side. Thank you, junior sister. Gu Qing Shan smiled at Xiao Xiao. Breaking through a realm is a very serious matter, so the entire Baihua sect is on the move. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.